We'll start in a moment. If folks can take their seats. Okay, good evening. If we could all take our seats from the dais. I'm sorry, ma'am. Okay, yeah, good evening. My name is Craig Slutskin, and I'm the president of CEC2. I will call this calendar meeting of CEC2 to order. If the translators would like to make their announcements, if they'd like to come up.
各位家长晚上好，我们呢提供了有国语翻译的，如果有需要国语翻译的，请到后面问我们的同事拿翻译耳机提供翻译，谢谢。
Buenas tardes. Si alguien necesita interpretación en español o en italiano, por favor que vayan a la entrada a recoger los audífonos. Gracias.
Thank you. I'm going to start by congratulating the newly elected members of CEC2 who will start their term on July 1. Craig Slutskin, Gavin Healy, Gloria Chu, Erin Carr, Tam Reed, Allison Bowen, Cody Lindquist, Daniela Egorov, Hong Lee, and Cynthia Rosario. I'm now going to turn this meeting over to Rebecca Rosado from FACE, the DOE Office of Family and Community Engagement. She will be reading the meeting norms tonight.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Rosado, and I am the Senior Director for the Office of Family and Community Empowerment. Before we begin today's council meeting, I would like to address a couple of important points to ensure a respectful and productive session. I'd like to thank the council for the opportunity to speak. First, I would kindly ask all members of the audience and the council to maintain decorum throughout the meeting. This includes refraining from shouting, cursing, or yelling that interrupts or prolongs the meeting, both between audience and council members or amongst the council while on the dais. Secondly, while the council's meetings are subject to open meetings law, which promotes transparency and public participation, we must also respect and safeguard the privacy of our youth participants. Therefore, we kindly request that no one records nor photographs students during the meeting. This measure is in place to protect their privacy while allowing them to freely engage in the public comment section and other proceedings. I want to repeat that last part. While the council's meetings are subject to open meetings law, which promotes transparency and public participation, we must also respect and safeguard the privacy of our youth participants. Therefore, we request, not demand, that no recording nor photographing of students happens during the meeting. This measure is in place to protect their privacy while allowing them to freely engage in the public comments section and other proceedings. Thank you for your cooperation, both audience and council, and understanding, and I turn it over to the meeting chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate your help. Okay, so now next we have the presentation of resolutions. We're going to start off with 275, resolution to affirm CEC2 support. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. We need to do the roll call. You want to do it? You want me to read it? Okay. Apologies for that mistake. Pre-Bopperai absent. She'll be late. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is also absent. She is coming. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov is here. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is here. Charles Love. Charles Love is not here. Maud Marin. Maud Marin is not here. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel is here. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage is here. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is here. Sabina Saranis. Sabina is excused for the evening. She had a medical issue. Leonard Silverman. Leonard Silverman is here. Craig Slutskin is here. Lila Jason. Lila Jason is here. Alexandra Stillman. Alexandra Stillman is not here. Do we have a quorum? We have a quorum of 7. Okay. We will now go to the presentation of resolutions, and we'll start off with 275, resolution to affirm CEC2 support of NYCPS's guidelines to support transgender and gender expansive students, and rescind resolution 248. Who would like to speak on that? Councilmember Schechter Ehrenberg, I think.
All right. Is this on? Can you hear me? Sort of, kind of? Only kind of? Little better? I got a lot of anger, so this is good for me. All right. It's been over a year since we've been introducing this resolution to rescind 248, and I think I've done this introduction about 4 or 5 times. It's a big blur. You know, I was going to come here all happy and calm because hopefully this is the second to last time we have to introduce this. You know, the election and the new CEC members, we focus on fairness and equity and inclusion. They won out on the hate-filled rhetoric of 248 should be wiped from CEC history. I mean, it's sad. We're in a museum for our hate. That's really an impressive feat. I'm sick and tired of the assumption. I think the world, but sorry, I wrote this when I was angry. The world's on fire and I'm really tired, and I think we're all really tired. I'm sick and tired of the assumption that we're, quote, just asking questions, or that we want to have a discussion about the exclusion of kids in sports. We don't have discussions about who is entitled to civil rights, and we don't have discussions about who's entitled to equity. Not a single person in this room is above the scrutiny of the people who want to strip away rights from others. They start with trans people, then they attack gay people, they attack Jewish people, they attack women, they attack brown and black people, immigrants, people with disabilities. I've described every single person in this room, including on this stage. Not a single one of us is in any way somehow protected, unless there's a secret billionaire in the room I don't know about, but you better be aligned with the Christo-fascist regime that's taken over. And to say you just want to have a conversation, you're siding with people who want to strip away all your rights, destroy the earth, and destroy your children's future to make those billionaires happy. I hope you're proud of yourself. I hope you're proud that you backed this conversation. And the rest of us will continue to protect you, even though you won't protect yourselves, as your rights are stripped away, as your safety and your security is consistently infringed upon. The Supreme Court's decision today in Scrimeti about states taking away basic medical care and rights because of bigotry, it's terrible, and it won't end there. We should end this term on a note of responsiveness to community concerns and respect for the students and dignity, rights and dignity of our students. We should rescind 248 and put this painful chapter behind us so we can begin to heal.
Next resolution is resolution 276, resolution affirming values of the D2 CEC and New York City Public Schools to ensure all students are welcome and safe regardless of immigration status. Who's going to speak? Councilmember Healy.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Okay, how's that? Thank you. So First, I want to note that since we submitted this resolution to the agenda, it has been reported that the student, the 11th grade student at Grover Cleveland High School in Ridgewood, Queens, who was seized by ICE at his asylum hearing, has been moved to a detention camp in Texas. This is an 11th grader seized from a New York City courtroom, taken to Texas against his will, away from his family, separated from his family. And we also know of Dylan, a student at a Ellis Prep, a high school in the Bronx, who was also seized at a hearing, and since was taken to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Texas. I think he's back in Pennsylvania now, but still in detention. Unfortunately, I doubt that these two students are the only New York City public school students who will be detained by ICE and separated from their families and their school communities. We know we have at least another 3.5 years of this to go, and we can expect that there will be more of this. That's just, I think, the reality that we're facing. And so for this reason, I think it's important for New York City public schools to do more long-term proactive planning. We can't just be reactive. We have to proactively work to protect our students. And that's what this resolution is about. First, as parents, as educators, as community members, we should be pushing our chancellor and our mayor to work to secure the immediate release of these two students, so they can return to their families, so they can return to their school communities, so they can return to their state. Second, we should reinforce the existing supports for students who may themselves be going through the asylum process, and or may have family members who are going through the asylum process. By doing so, we give them the security they need to show up for school each day and apply themselves to their studies, to do what students should be doing, which is going to school, studying, meeting their friends, playing basketball, all of those things. And so I want to say that this resolution, I think, builds on some of the work that this council has done. This council did last term, passed a resolution supporting students in temporary housing and students seeking asylum. And we also passed an important resolution last year, urging the mayor to rescind his 60-day rule, a 60-day limitation on shelter stays, particularly for families with students in public school. So I hope that we can continue to work together as a council to protect our students. I want to also add that this resolution does not, ask for New York City public schools or the city to flout the law in any way. It just asks for us to double down on the protections, on the supports we have for our students. So I hope that everyone up here can agree that this is an important thing to do to ensure that our students have the same safety and security to go to school that we had to come into this meeting today. So thank you.
Resolution 277, resolution in opposition to Donald Trump's executive order entitled Reinstating Common Sense School Discipline Policies. Who would like to present?
I will.
It was you.
Thank you. How's that? I'll go louder. So we know that exclusionary discipline practices, that's suspensions and expulsions from school, disproportionately target students of color, students with disabilities, students in temporary housing, and LGBTQ students. To give a few data points, last year in New York, Black students made up less than 20% of overall enrollment, but received 45% of superintendent suspensions. In the 23 to 24 year, 43% of superintendent suspensions went to students with disabilities, who were only 22% of the population. And about 1 in every 32 students in shelter were suspended, compared to 1 out of 49 of permanently housed students. LGBTQ students have been found to be up to 3 times more likely to be severely disciplined than their heterosexual counterparts. And we know that such disproportionality has been found to exist in our district, as was brought to light again in the superintendent's presentation a few months ago. We know that students who face exclusionary discipline practices are likely to suffer a whole host of negative outcomes, including falling behind academically. They're more likely to repeat a grade. They're less likely to graduate. They're at an increased risk of entering the juvenile justice system and later on the adult prison system. We know this from tons and tons of research. And a lot of work has been done to try to address this problem since a light was shown on it federally by the Obama administration, then again by the Biden administration. And now this executive order specifically rolls back the previous presidential administration's commitments to address racial disparities in school discipline practices by replacing what it calls equity ideology-based discipline policies, which are policies grounded in commitments to address racial disparities, with so-called common sense discipline. The only thing common sense about these changes is that they will perpetuate illegal discrimination in our schools. The executive order does this by threatening federal action, like taking away federal funding against schools that have adopted discipline reforms addressing racial disparities and working to create more inclusive schools. It's also important to understand that despite vague threats in the executive order, students remain protected from discrimination by federal civil rights laws. So we're proposing a number of actions in this resolution, including just that as a CEC, we state outright that we oppose this executive order, that we affirm our support of the New York City Public Schools' stated commitment to ensuring equitable and non-discriminatory discipline programs, policies, and practices. And we're also calling on the New York City Public Schools system to take steps to further help remedy the existing disproportionality in exclusionary discipline practices. Some of those include formally investigating, collecting data showing what classrooms or programs students with disabilities who are suspended from schools are in. So for example, we don't know right now, are they in general education classes? Are they in ICT settings? And to make this data public. When schools ensure that all students feel seen, heard, and valued, that's how we create truly safe spaces that allow all of our students to thrive. So let's not let ourselves get bullied into accepting and perpetuating discrimination in our schools. Let's continue to work towards creating positive school environments by fighting for equal educational opportunities for all and disavowing this executive order. Thank you.
Next resolution is 278, resolution urging NYCPS, NYSED, and the New York State Legislature to expand financial literacy education instruction for middle school students. And I will speak to this. This resolution urges the DOE and other parties to expand financial literacy instruction for middle school students. It's a sort of a sister resolution to the one passed last week by the Citywide Council of High Schools. And I want to thank them for all of their work on this issue. The resolution highlights several reasons for this urgency. Only 38% of New York high school students are required to take a personal finance course. New York adults scored lower than the national average on financial literacy assessments. New Yorkers carry high average credit card debt and significant student loan debt. Research shows financial education leads to better lifelong financial outcomes. New York State received a D rating on the nation's report card on financial literacy. There are multiple bills in the state legislature and resolutions in the city council which aim to enhance financial literacy education. This New York State Education Commissioner, Betty Rosa, and State Comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, have called for financial literacy to be taught in all New York schools. And middle school is a crucial development stage for forming money management habits. I would argue actually elementary school is as well, but we'll take middle school. The resolution highlights several regions. The resolution proposes 8 actions to address these issues. Fully funding a financial literacy mandate, which is providing adequate funding for curriculum development, teacher training, program implementation, emphasizing higher order thinking and relevance, so teaching foundational skills and project-based work that addresses basic financial concepts appropriate for middle schoolers, like what is a bank account? What is a checking account? What is a credit card? How does that work? Is it just this magical thing you never have to pay back? Student loans, budgeting, integrating across subjects. So having it into math, integrate into math, social studies, English language arts, literacy standards, using a multidisciplinary approach. Align with the Program for International Student Assessment Framework. Require teacher training and leadership. Support legislative action and incorporate across all middle school grades with age-appropriate curriculum. A few hours ago, the DOE did come out with an announcement about a financial literacy for youth initiative, which coincidentally addresses some of these items. And District 2 will be one of the piloting districts. I'm sure we may hear about that in the superintendent's report. But I think having this codified by our CEC will be most helpful. Thank you. The next resolution is Resolution 279. And I know we have a number of people who are going to speak about it tonight. Resolution regarding PS 33, which is where we are tonight, and the proposed redevelopment of the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses. This resolution addresses the concerns of the CEC regarding the proposed large-scale redevelopment of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses by Essence Development and the related companies. This directly will impact PS 33 because many of those buildings are right around here. I want to make it clear. There are still many discussions and debates over the direction of the redevelopment. Some say rebuild, some say repair and redevelop what's already here. The CEC shouldn't take a position on that. It's not really our purview, but we want to take a position on how it impacts our school. So it highlights several issues. The impact on PS 33. This redevelopment plan, which is going to cost about $2 billion, does not specifically plan for the effect on 33, despite the school being located within the Elliott Chelsea houses redevelopment area. And just one more thing, PS 138, which is a D75 school, is also part of this campus. There are numerous environmental and construction concerns. There's a lack of a mitigation plan. The Master Development Agreement, which was approved back in October of 2024, focuses on security, pest control, and repairs for the housing, but lacks significant and specific planning for 33. Meetings with developers and local officials have not resulted in any commitments for the school. Parents and community concerns. The PS 33 PTA has requested a number of concessions, including capital improvement funding, daylight and sunlight studies, traffic studies to prevent disruption, noise limits during school hours, a community construction liaison, protecting students covered by student art. Parents are concerned about the loss of direct sunlight, potential enrollment decline, and the prolonged disruption, given a recent extended scaffolding period at 33. This redevelopment could be anywhere from 15 to 20 or even longer years. It's going to be a very long redevelopment. In addition, if there are all these new apartments, if they put in all this new housing, which is a good thing, new housing, but where will all these new kids go? With the class size requirement, the school may need many more seats long-term. And there is a precedent. On the Upper East Side, Memorial Sloan Kettering provided over $5 million in faculty and facility upgrades and a $500,000 contribution to the PTA due to nearby construction because they're putting up a new building over there. Therefore, the resolution resolves to urge the DOE and the New York City to create and implement a detailed mitigation plan for 33, incorporating input from parents, educators, and administrators. Publicly disclose any potential health risks and the mitigation plan for the area around the school. Require developers to build specific and measurable benefits to 33, such as financial support for the school building improvements, enhanced safety, resources for students. Request the Office of District Planning study the long-term need for school seats in the 33 zone and develop a plan for projected shortfalls. Request regular meetings with local electeds, PS 33 leadership, parent leaders, CECD2, and Community Board 4, and include Essence and related representatives to monitor progress. And strongly urge the state and the city, and I guess it would be NYCHA, to consider requiring Essence and related to potentially construct a new school building on the 33 site. Given its age, it's an, I think, 82-year-old building, something like that, and potential capacity challenges that I just discussed, especially if the area around it consists of all these new buildings. And potentially request that the DOE temporarily relocate 33 to a safe, suitable, and accessible nearby site during the redevelopment in close consultation with parents and guardians. Basically, 33 needs to be part of this redevelopment, however it plays out. The city, the NYCHA, the state, they need to use this opportunity to get the developers to take a leadership role here, including potential funding. So that's Resolution 279. Thank you. Oh, sure. Sorry. Len, you're not doing your job. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so the next on the agenda is the presentation for this evening, the annual contracts for excellence presentation. I believe it's going to be led by our two deputy superintendents. Reggie Higgins, I think, is leading it, and Kelly Shannon. And I may need to move because my head may be in the way. So let me give you my mic. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Reggie Higgins, Deputy Superintendent, and tonight we will be co-facilitating the Contract for Excellence presentation with my partner, Deputy Superintendent Kelly Shannon. We do this on behalf of our Superintendent, Kelly McGuire.
Next slide. There we go. Whoa.
There we go, boss.
Next slide.
I want to briefly share some important information about a part of our school funding called C for E, which stands for Contracts for Excellence. C for E was created back in the 2007-2008 school year as part of New York State's budget. It says that part of the money schools get from the state, called foundation aid, must be used for certain specific purposes. That means this funding has to go toward programs that help students who need the most support. This includes students learning English, students living in poverty, and students with disabilities. More recently, in 2022, the law was updated. Now, schools also have to follow rules about reducing class sizes as part of how they use this money. So in short, C for E funding must be used in targeted ways to make sure we're helping our most vulnerable students succeed and ensuring all students benefit from smaller class sizes.
As part of the Contracts for Excellence requirements, funding can only be spent within specific approved program areas. These include things such as additional instructional time, such as extended school year or extended school day, programs for multilingual learners, like expanding bilingual resources that are available, full-day pre-K and kindergarten implementation, class size reduction, which may involve hiring additional teachers, initiatives to attract and retain high-quality teachers and principals in high-needs areas, and high school restructuring, such as expanding access to advanced placement programs. Districts may also propose experimental programs. However, these must be pre-approved by the state education department. So while the funding supports a range of needs, every investment must align with one of these approved areas.
Let's take a look at what's happening with the C for E budget this year. First, the C for E budget is growing. It's increasing by $286 million, going from $802 million to just over $1 billion in the upcoming school year. Most of this increase, $241 million, is brand new funding that must be used to reduce class sizes. Another $45 million is funding from last year that's now being added into the C for E budget and will also stay focused on class size. So how will this $1.089 billion be used? It's broken into two main parts. Number one, discretionary funding, $487 million. This part goes directly to schools. Principals and their school leadership teams will decide how to use it based on what their school needs, most always sticking to the C for E rules. Schools can continue using it for programs already in place, or they can shift their focus to new priorities. Number two, targeted and maintenance of effort, $602 million. This part is already set aside for specific programs. These funds are directed to schools that have high student needs and the ability to run these programs well. Here's how that $602 million breaks down. $241 million for reducing class sizes, $45 million continuing from last year's class size funds, $183 million through fair student funding, $87 million for integrated co-teaching. That is where general and special education teachers work together. $30 million for summer programs, $9 million for full-day pre-K, $7 million for classrooms that support students with autism. Together, these investments are focused on meeting student needs, supporting equity, and helping schools maintain and improve essential programs.
This chart gives you a snapshot of how the total 45.5 million in funding is allocated across categories. You'll see that just over 33%, our largest share, is dedicated to class size reduction, which is a direct mandate. Another 33% is discretionary, meaning schools have some choice in how to spend it, but again, it must fall within one of the approved program areas that we just discussed. Other significant allocations include funding for co-teaching classrooms, fair student funding, and summer programming. What's important to note is that while schools have some flexibility, the majority of funds are targeted and are tied to specific priorities that are critical to our mission of equity and academic support.
Before we wrap up, we want to make sure everyone knows that your voice matters. Right now, the city is still working on finalizing the C4E plan, and they want to hear from the public, including families, educators, and community members. If you have thoughts, ideas, or concerns about how this funding should be used, you can share them by email. The deadline to send in your comments is July 8, 2025. Just send your feedback to contractsforexcellence@schools.nyc.gov. Your input will be considered as part of the planning process, so we encourage everyone to take part.
As required, almost there, a draft version of our Contracts for Excellence plan has been publicly posted. This is part of a transparent process that invites the public feedback from educators, families, and our broader community. Once the public comment period ends, we'll work with both the teachers union and the principals union to finalize the plan. By law, both unions must review and sign off before the plan can move forward. The plan outlines both school level and central office policies, ensuring we are aligned at every level of the system.
As we look ahead to the next school year, I want to share what's included in the updated plan for class size and how it supports our schools. First, the planning process was led by individual schools working closely with their school leadership teams. Thanks to this effort, about 750 schools got funding to hire around 3,700 new teachers. This was possible because of $241 million from the C4E budget, plus additional support from the city. These plans were not only created at the school level, they were also reviewed by the Department of Education, along with the teachers and school leaders unions. We're already seeing some progress. For the current school year, 46% of classes across the city are now under the class size limits, which is more than the 40% required by law for this year. In addition, the city looked at the school building space. Many principals gave feedback, and that review may help create about 1,500 more classroom seats where space is tight. The School Construction Authority is also expanding its building projects to help with space and reduce class sizes. Finally, new strategies are in place to help hire and keep teachers, and more supports are in place to encourage teachers to stay. In short, this plan brings new teachers, more classrooms, and real progress on class size, all with the input from our schools and community.
We strongly encourage input from all members of our community as we plan. Public comments will be reviewed in the coming weeks, and we will help guide final updates. The deadline to submit feedback is July 8th, 2025. Anyone, educators, parents, families, caregivers, or community members can share their input by emailing classsize@schools.nyc.gov. Your voice matters in shaping how we move forward with this mandate. Thank you for your time this evening on behalf of myself, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Higgins, and Superintendent Kelly McGuire.
So first of all, my apologies and my apologies to the folks at home. We didn't get, there was some issue and we didn't get the presentation. I will put it up on the website tonight. I have it now. I will also put it on our Facebook page so people can access it there. Are there any questions from the council? Lila.
Hi, you mentioned briefly in like the plan where all the money is allocated. Oh, sorry. Okay. Lose the loser. Oh, sorry. You went okay. You mentioned specific classrooms for students on the autism spectrum. I was just wondering if we'd hear more about that, and like, are those already in place at some schools? And if so, like how many? And then also, I don't think it said specifically how much of the funding would be allocated to that. Do you have that specific number? I'm just curious about that.
More information about the autism? Yes.
So we have our colleagues from the budget office here. They don't have that information now, but we'll go back, get that information, and then provide it to you. Thank you, Lila.
Any other questions? Gavin?
So I've been hearing some stories from parents in the district. They're talking about ICT classes being over capacity, oversubscribed, and so I'm wondering how will this C4E funding like affect that, and how will that help alleviate that problem in the district?
Right now, as we're going into the hiring process, with reduced class size for the class size mandate, one, we believe that's one way in which we're going to continue to address that we have the appropriate percentage of students who have IEPs and gen ed students to make sure that we are not going over the cap. And in other places, we work very closely with our AZ from the district. If there are individual schools that have ICTs where there are more students than should be programmed in, and then we work with the individual schools to address those concerns to make sure that we can rectify that.
Councilmember Silverman.
So thank you for your presentation. I thought that was great. If my first question is, if we subscribe, well, let me do it this way. There's no question that enrollment, am I correct in assuming that enrollment in District 2 has gone down? Is that true or is that not true? Oh, yes. Sorry.
Enrollment in District 2 over the last 2 years has increased.
And if we
But
were,
it is lower than what the historical high was.
sure, and would you attribute that increase to the influx of migrant students?
I can't hear your question.
Would you attribute that increase to the influx of migrant students in District 2?
We have had an increase in migrant students in our district, students from families seeking asylum. We have also had increases from students. When we look at the breakdown of students who are attending school in our district, yes, the number of students who are living in temporary housing, that might be a number that would indicate the number of students that are seeking asylum in our district. That number has increased, but we also have seen increases in other populations as well.
What other populations have you seen increases in?
Students who are not living in temporary housing, 3K and pre-K, students in elementary school. In several of our schools, we did see a trend, especially right after the pandemic, of cohorts of kids that were smaller, and those cohorts are now in 4th and 5th grade. But we see much larger numbers in our early grades, in kindergarten and first grade. So those, I think, are places where we can point to an increase in population of students attending our schools.
Well, I've asked you a couple times over the course of the last term, I guess, which is 2-year term, if you could estimate at various times what the population of migrant students is in this district. And you've given us different numbers. You've said it's kind of fluctuated. So my first question is, what's the most recent number, just out of curiosity?
I'm sorry, I may,
What's the most recent number of migrant students you could estimate are presently students in District 2?
I don't have, that number is not tracked. We don't track students by their migrant status. We do keep a number of students who are living in temporary housing in our district. Prior to large numbers of students attending our schools who are living in temporary housing, we had a number that was below 1,000. At times over the past couple of years, that number has increased to over 2,000. That number now is just above 1,000 again.
Okay, and I don't want anyone to suppose that by my questions, I'm opposed to migrant students attending school in New York. What I'm just trying to get at is, in our specific district, a fairly significant proportion, would you estimate at least 5%, happen to be students in temporary housing, the majority of whom might be migrant students, at least the trend over the last 2 years?
We've seen an increase in the number of students who are living in temporary housing. We've seen an increase in the number of students who are attending 3K and pre-K. And also in many of our schools, we have larger cohorts of kids who are now in kindergarten and first grade.
Now, are the students in temporary housing, the migrant students, are those numbers starting to decline? Are you starting to see an example of
They've
students
declined.
leave?
They have declined quite a bit over the past year.
And as they've declined, has that reduced the amount, the class size numbers in our district in any significant way?
Does it reduce the class size number?
Yeah, well, if the number of
Sure.
students in temporary housing
Yeah.
in our district is going down,
In
wouldn't it
some
be-
places, that's true.
Okay. And if that is true, does your analysis and the way that you're allocating money factor that in? Does it factor in the fact that you had significant numbers of students in temporary housing that were maybe residing at the Roosevelt, the hotel, whatever in our district, whatever, that are now no longer in our districts?
It's a bit hard to answer that question because these are central New York City-wide numbers that were adopted, across all districts. These weren't adjusted for the numbers of students who might have left District 2 or other district schools over the past year. I guess I'm not exactly sure. I recognize that I might not be answering your question, but I'm not sure that I'm understanding it correctly.
Again, the whole presumption here is that less students in a classroom is better. I mean, I would assume, correct? I mean, that's the underlying presumption of this whole law, is that less students are better. We have more students coming in, that number fluctuates for political reasons, goes up, goes down. In our district, it's going down, it sounds like, because for whatever reason, whether it's ICE activities.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So again, also the teachers that you're hiring, are those newer teachers on average, or are you getting more experienced teachers?
Well, I don't know exactly how they break down. I can say that our schools, I checked in with them just this week and to see how it is that they were doing with their hiring. And our schools are doing very well with being fully staffed or close to fully staffed by the end of the year.
And last question is there any correlation in this whole analysis that you'd get in the district that shows that these reduced numbers or these new teachers you're bringing in will actually result in increased performance in student outcomes.
Are you linking the C for E
Yeah, I'm saying what we,
numbers to that?
well, I alluded last time, we talked about PTA money, one of the last resolutions we had.
Yeah.
I see more money is being thrown at a problem. And the more money is presumably going to reduce class size. I just want to know if you're anticipating that reducing class size is going to result in better outcomes, either higher scores on tests, better grades.
I think we can say that reduced class size will have a positive impact that can be measured in many different ways.
Okay. And has that been measured before in our district in any way? Just the class size correlation to better performance or outcomes. That's all. That's it.
We have not conducted a study on small classes versus large classes in our district to evaluate that impact. That's not a study we've done.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I was.
Sorry, thank you. Len, I'm happy to find research available for educational professionals in many peer-reviewed journals that show that smaller class size is incredibly important to increase success for students. I don't expect Kelly to pull out journals right this second, but I'm happy to Google for you. I got a little time tomorrow. And the continued conflagration, is that the word? There's a lot of teachers in this room. Tell me if I used it right. Of talking about unhoused students or students in temporary housing and our newest New Yorkers. There are a lot of reasons that students are in temporary housing. And to say that they don't deserve the best education possible, especially here within D2, is disgusting and disturbing. I directly work with people receiving public benefits in Manhattan. I work with a lot of families, both who live in Manhattan in permanent housing and stable housing, and students families who live in shelters who are our newest New Yorkers, and they all deserve the best possible school, sidebar, not charters. And we are here in this panel to support that and not go into some granular thing about whether this child is going to only be in our school for a little bit, so they don't deserve a small, excellent class. So, I mean, I'll find you the studies. I know it's out there. It's not going to be a study that's published in the New York Post, but it'll be a real academic study by real academics. So, thank you.
So, let's see. I want to say
just about the smaller class sizes. I mean, it's the law. The law is we need to reduce the class size. It passed overwhelmingly in the state legislature. So let's not hem and haw about the law. Let's just comply with the law. I have one specific question related to class size, and I think this pertains to C4E as well. This may be also for Kelly or our deputy superintendents. I'm hearing reports that there's some capacity problems at 267 with very long kindergarten wait list. So is some of maybe this is something you can also address in the superintendent presentation, but I'm just wondering to what extent is some of this funding going to help with a school like 267, which might have a kindergarten, in a problem with not having enough seats.
I'm sorry if I didn't hear the full question. I think you asked about the long wait list for kindergarten at PS 267. Yeah, they do. They have a long wait list, and there are like a couple of things going into that. Families who are on the wait list have been offered another seat, a seat at a different kindergarten. They always have the right to return back to PS 267 as their zone school when a space opens up. PS 267 is physically a very small school, and has been very popular amongst families who live in the zone. Every single year that I've held this position, we have had to work with the wait list, and the classes have been entirely filled in kindergarten. So I know you asked something more specific. I guess what I'm saying is that the way that we do it is that we offer a seat in a kindergarten class that has space in the general area and manage those wait lists and spaces as seats come available. The building itself at 267 is too small to open an additional section.
Yes, Sarah, I just wanted to respond to you. I never said that students aren't entitled to the best education or things along those lines. So you're putting your argument or your analysis is, in my opinion, unfair in terms of what you just said. What I do want to point out is that we tend to always think in terms of money and in terms of budget and throwing more money at situations and hoping there's a correlation between throwing more money and then we try to put the money in here and the money in there, hoping it's going to result in better outcomes for students. And that's not always the case. And then we talk about reducing class size, but then we do things that increase class size. So I'm just trying to, again, understand what the approach is and see if there's a correlation in terms of how the dollars are spent and whether or not that's going to actually result in a better outcome. Because again, as Daniela pointed out, I think at the last meeting, New York City currently spends $33,000, I guess on average per student. It's one of the highest in the country. And we don't really see New York City students being the highest performing students in the country by any rubric that you want to use, whether it's graduation rates, whether it's performance on exams, whether it's completing grades on time. So that's why I bring that up. But I think it's unfair to insinuate that, well, you don't want certain students to be here. That's not the case. But I do find it odd that we talk about reducing class size at the same time we increase class size. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to the deputy superintendents. You did a fantastic job with your presentation. Thank you. Moving on, we have the first public speaker session. Victor will bring me the sign-in sheet. Yeah, so we have we have not a ton of people. Okay. Each speaker will get 2 minutes. Pri will be our timekeeper. Len will call out the names of individuals. We do have a number of people who would like to speak. We are going to let the young people in our audience go first tonight. Victor's going to hold the microphone or give you the microphone. It's over there. And then I will start off with, I'll give it to Len.
Why did I get nominated? Okay, so we're going to have Amelie first.
My name is Amelie, and I'm in 3rd grade at PS 33, and I support Resolution 279. I want to talk about how students need safety when it comes to construction. What will happen if the buildings are made? What will happen during construction? Without consideration, if the building is too tall, a thing that will happen is that it can block sunshine away from my school. We want sunshine in our windows and at recess. We do not want a bunch of shade. If there is no sunshine, which is natural light, there will be a lack of vitamin D. Vitamin D comes from sunshine. This is an example of what will happen if these buildings are made too tall without consideration. One thing that will happen in construction is that there would be sound and there would be dust in the air. We do not want sounds in class and dirty dust in our faces. The reason why we don't want sound, it can distract us while we are doing tests and are learning something important. Another thing is that dirty dust can get us sick. These examples all show that we want safety with construction. If there is dirty dust, we can get sick. If there is no sunshine, it is a lack of vitamin D. Please vote yes to Resolution 279. Thank you.
Before we go to the next person, Amelie, you wrote us a letter and you sent your mom sent it to us yesterday, right? Did you write us a letter? You wrote the letter yesterday? That was one of the best, by the way, this is one of the best letters that any of us on the stage has ever received from a student or from a parent or a student. You did a wonderful job and we're very proud of you. Thank you. Okay.
Next, we have Theodore Lee.
Hello, my name is Theodore Lee. I graduated from PS33 3 years ago, and this fall I'll be attending Stuyvesant High School. I've lived in Chelsea for 11 years, and I'm here today not just as an alum, but as a neighbor, as a brother to my sister, Sophia, who's currently attending the school at PS33. I grew up surrounded by friends from all backgrounds, learning to celebrate each other's cultures. Our teachers and staff made everyone feel seen and valued, creating a warm, welcoming environment. Thanks to the dedication of the entire school community. What I want to emphasize today is simple but important. Children in schools are not just another stakeholder in a commercial development. They deserve more care, more protection, and we should value them with a deeper sense of responsibility. That's why I respectfully ask the 12 members of the CEC2 Council to vote yes on Resolution 279. These towers next to the school are now set to be demolished and rebuilt, but this isn't just a change to our area. It could directly impact the daily lives of the students inside. Looking back, I can't imagine spending my elementary school years surrounded by constant noise, dust, and blocked windows. That kind of environment would have made it hard to focus and hard to feel safe. If construction is unavoidable, students deserve a common supportive place to learn. A serious mitigation plan is the least we can do. My father's an architect, so I understand the value of smart development and urban renewal, but when construction disrupts children's learning and well-being, there must be a compelling reason and thoughtful support to help them through it. Every student beginning their journey at PS33, including my sister, deserves the same chance to grow, to learn, and to feel proud of where they came from. PS33 should remain a place where beautiful dreams take root and flourish. This is why, through this resolution, safety regulations and the beneficial revitalizations to the school help students preserve their learning experience through, during, and after the revitalization of the area around PS33. Please vote yes on Resolution 279. Thank you.
Thank you. I think those are the last two students. Principal Cindy in the back. Could you stand up for a second? This is the principal of PS33. You are churning out wonderful, wonderful students. So this is also a testament to you. Both speakers were great. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Motoko.
Happy Juneteenth and happy Pride Month. Council members, please support Resolution 279 regarding PS33 and the redevelopment of Elliott Chelsea houses. My family has been commuting to PS33 from the Upper East Side since 2016. Why? Because we fell in love with the beautiful, truly diverse community that PS33 offers. Many students live in the Elliott Chelsea houses. Many others live in temporary housing or come from all over Manhattan. In the morning, 9th Avenue gets vibrant with families and dozens of school buses, including buses for PS 138, a District 75 school co-located in a building. Just last Friday, we celebrated Juneteenth in this auditorium. Over 600 students from ages 4 to 11 learned that Juneteenth was about unity. Organized by our PTA co-vice president, Shernette. I don't know if she's here. She was going to come here. Of course, the DJ was our other co-president, Dimi. He's going to, oh, there, ADME. So why is the DEIS of the redevelopment ignoring the massive impact on the PS33 community? There should be a better community engagement and better impact mitigation plan. This is a 16-year construction plan. Many kids will spend their whole childhood during the construction 24/7. Just to clarify, we are not supporting or against the redevelopment. We just cannot be ignored and neglected. So please vote yes to resolution 279. Thank you.
Also, just to note, there a little earlier, we never, for the records, that Councilmember Boparai is in attendance. Late.
So next we have Eurydice, followed by Tishwana.
Hello, everyone. Council members, please support Resolution 279. I understand the need for redevelopment of the Fulton Elliott Chelsea houses and the large benefits the improvements will bring to the community. I've been part of the PS33 community since my daughter attended the first grade. And one thing I know about our students, our teachers, our staff, and our parents of PS33 is that we care about our neighbors. Neighborly love is the quiet strength of a strong community. While I advocate for our neighbors, I am also concerned about the potential impact that this will have on our children's learning environment. The renovations at these buildings are likely to create dust and noise, which can be disruptive to the learning process of our students. As a parent and a member of the PS33 community, it is imperative that we unite in safeguarding the welfare and safety of our children during this potential period of transition. For these reasons, I am advocating for Resolution 279, which calls for the development of a mitigation plan to address the concerns of our school community. This plan will help minimize the negative effects of the renovations on our students and families, ensuring that they can continue to learn and thrive in a safe and supportive environment. Resolution 279 calls for us to all come together to be a strong voice for our school children and to be compassionate and supportive of the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea community, who we also deeply care about.
Tishwana.
I want to say that I think the resolution shouldn't happen because our city's perfectly fine the way it is, and I believe it should stay this way for a pretty well time.
Thank you. All right, so next we're going to have Annabella Ruggiero, followed by Joe Vitale.
Of course, my phone. So, today, the Supreme Court of the United States passed down a 6-3 ruling upholding Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth. This ruling is a grievous loss for our community. We'll see many families fleeing their homes due to this. There will be many more without access to the resources to flee from this act of cruelty. And some will leave this world before their time. There was a rally at Union Square protesting this ruling, and yet I decided to head here instead. This is not because I don't see utility in rallies, but because I believe the Scrimetti ruling makes every bit of ground we can win even more important.
We need to either get the Scrimeti rule overturned or neutralize it. And to achieve that, that requires us to build power and change the culture of our country. The CECD2 election is a victory for us, but not merely a political win. Policy nor culture are downstream from each other. They both feed back into each other. Embedded in this political win is the groundwork to further push the culture towards valuing equity. For evidence of this, we only need to look at why our community started showing up to these school board meetings. Moms for Liberty were able to leverage small political wins into tools to change the culture of not only our city, but the country as well. We are not yet done. There exists other boards in the city with Moms for Liberty scum on them. These malcontents must be voted out and excised from the trappings of power. Even then, there are far greater goals we can achieve. Within our city, there are city council elections, state assembly and senate elections, and congressional elections. Our work is not done, and it won't be done until the executioner's blade is no longer hanging over our throats.
So we have Joe Vitale, and after Joe is going to be Walter Masterson.
Hello, I've spoken before. I'm a female athlete who has been sponsored. Again, I'm going to support Resolution 248. And again, the minutes aren't accurately reflecting what I support and what I oppose. I support 248. I oppose 275. I oppose 276. And I oppose 277. And to the members of this audience who are conducting their usual disrespectful buffoonery in the back, there's children here today, and you're showing how little respect you have for freedom of speech when freedom of speech does not go your way. Additionally, I'm dedicating my speech today to Dr. Lynn Finn, who is a scientist, who is exposing how a lot of current science, including peer-reviewed stuff, is co-opted and corrupted by the pharmaceutical industry. Last month, Sarah spoke about science, but she did not even cite a source. And I can tell that you oftentimes don't know what's really going on. Pfizer, the pharmaceutical company Pfizer, gives money to the Board of Education. So it doesn't come out of nowhere that a bunch of kids, especially girls, now think they are quote unquote born in the wrong body. It reflects the pharmaceutical undercurrent and the pharmaceutical push. Schools are becoming unsafe places for the sane, unsafe places for people with common sense. Schools are actually physically structured like prisons. And because Superintendent McGuire couldn't answer your questions very directly, Mr. Silverman, I will. Teachers, quality teachers are leaving this system. Homeschooling is on the rise. And throughout the world, a New York City public school education is getting the reputation of being the worst in the world. And we New Yorkers know that niceness can often be just a smokescreen, among other smokescreens, right? Superintendent McGuire.
Thank you. Next we have Walter Masterson. And Walter is going to be followed by Shannon.
Check, check. Okay. I'm going to start with a great gotcha question. What is a woman? Right? Great gotcha question. An adult human female is a biological state of being which is also socially experienced. Right? What is a woman? An adult human female. What is an adult? Right? What is an adult? America says 18, South Korea says 19, Thailand, New Zealand says 20. Matt Gates thinks it's 17. Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh think a 12-year-old raped by their father is ready to become a mom. So you cannot define a woman without using a social construct. All right? The Olympic Committee used to test female athletes for sex verification. They had to discontinue this practice because female athletes were constantly being disqualified because of chromosomal abnormalities. All right, and they finally discontinued the practice, concluding that the complexity of human genetics meant that not all the cells in a person's body have the same genotype. All right, as a parent, you naturally want to protect your daughter. But if your daughter runs too fast, jumps too high, throws too hard, she will be transvestigated. Okay? The size of your daughter's hands, her hips, her feet, the sound of her voice will be transvestigated by grown adults. Don't believe me? Look up any comment section on Michelle Obama, Venus, Serena Williams, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Whoopi Goldberg. Okay? The members of this board from Place NYC and Moms for Liberty want you to obsess about trans people in sports to distract from them implementing school choice. What is school choice? School choice is a wealth transfer. It is a way to take tax dollars out of public school.
If you could wrap up
put
your
them
remarks, please.
School. Okay, so when they ask, what is a woman? They are trying to pick your pocket. Thank you.
So next we're going to have Shannon, followed by Chrissy Rose, and then Omar Vera. Shannon, yep.
How you doing, y'all? I'm Shannon. You know me. I've been to a whole bunch of these. This week's been interesting. 248 was on the ballot, and I think the will of the people is pretty clear. We also lost big today. A truly terrible Supreme Court ruling has created a situation where kids will be unsafe. I want to be real clear about what's in this room and what's not in this room. Because 248 had somebody leading it. They say the captain is supposed to go down with a ship. I don't see her. I don't know where she is. I don't know where Moms for Liberty is. But what I do see is a sinking ship. And some of you are on a different ship. Thank you. Some of you are still on the sinking boat. And that's public record. The will of the voters is that New York remains a safe, affirming stronghold. And make no mistake, what has happened in SCOTUS and what is happening in this country does not defeat us. It does not send us back to the closet. It makes us angry. It makes us full of fire and passion and turns us into steel. We are not going anywhere. Trans people are not going anywhere. Trans kids are not going anywhere. The question is, do you want to sink or do you want to stand up for what's right? Choice is yours.
So next we have Chrissy Rose, who's going to be followed by Omar Vera.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chrissy Rose, and I'm here to ask you to rescind Resolution 248. You've spent the last year ignoring the clear demands of your constituents, and now the natural consequences of these actions have come to pass, and a bunch of you lost your seats. This month is your last month to do the right thing, because next month, if you don't, that decision will be in more deserving hands. So if you'd like to be remembered as something other than a bigot who bullies children, now's the time. But honestly, that's as snippy as I'm going to get tonight. Because, not because you don't deserve it, you haven't earned grace from anyone in this room, but it's more important to me to show you that there is room over here for you. Even though you have been in the wrong and you have hurt people, you can still do better, and that would matter. But if you won't do better, we will elect people who will. And I want to remind us all that we didn't win this because we're right. Although we are, we won it because we fought. And there are going to be times when we don't win. And that has nothing to do with the justice of what we are doing. When we don't win, there is one message that we need to take from that above all, and that is to get up and keep fighting. Now, we see the light at the end of this particular stupid tunnel, and we are going to celebrate. But what we're not going to do is slack off. There is more work to be done. We're going to support resolutions like 276 and 277 so all kids can feel safe at school regardless of their immigration status or any other identity that they may hold. We are going to get out and vote in the mayoral election. We're going to keep going because we are not just here to protect trans kids. We're here for all kids. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
So next we have Omar Vera. Okay, I said, it looks like Omar Vera.
Yeah, thanks for having me back here again. You remember my speech last month calling out like the failure of this board to rescind resolution 248. But like the previous speaker said, you have a chance now to correct this abomination, rescind this awful resolution, and accept that trans rights are human rights and human rights are trans rights. And but like I said, I like to congratulate the people who stood the right thing, especially on this side of the board, all of you. And yes, and of course, the #1 transphobe here, Maud Marin's absent because she's a sore loser who couldn't accept the fact that she had been voted out. Where are you, Maud? Empty chair right there. And yes, so starting next month onward, this board and the General Department of Education is going to be one of, for, by the people, not for Moms for Liberty, or should I say, Moms for Subjugation. And I hope everybody here like votes to rescind 248 because that needs to be rescinded now. Again, do it now, or the present board will forever have the stain of shame. Okay, so rescind resolution 248 and equal rights for all and justice for all. Thanks.
Now watch this. Our next speaker is Elena Daniels. I had to get it right.
For the record, we practiced before.
Thank you.
Yes, we practiced.
Hi, everybody. Whoa. Why does the PA never work? Hi, everybody. Guess what? We did it. I can't quite hear you. Guess what? We did it. $16, $18, I've lost track. Months ago, when our favorite Daniela tried to ban this book, and there were only, 3 or 4 of us standing here. This seemed sort of like an impossible task. But we also warned them we'd be back next month with more people. 16 months later, we've been back every month with more people. We were back this month with more voters. So thank you to all of the Get Out the Vote team, who did all the work canvassing at schools and talking to parents and just letting them know what was happening up here. But I also want to say that from the beginning, we said we were just getting started. We said that rescinding 248 was just the first step. We want to make schools that are safe for everybody. We've heard a lot of talk tonight here about how schools are spending money. And last month, we actually heard a lot of talk about how Faith did not do a great job getting folks out to vote. Personally, I think that's a question of priorities. It's a question of where we choose to spend our money. You know, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for there to be two people in the whole DOE working on LGBTQ kids, 40 people whose job is to lead all of the governance stuff face. Wow, still that there. And right now the DOE is trying to hire 400 new baby cops. They're trying to hire a bunch of junior school safety officers, ages 17 to 23, and are about to put them in elementary school classrooms for, I believe it's $36,000 a year in a salary. And yet somehow we don't let the 17-year-olds on this board vote.
Could you wrap it up?
Oh, was that the buzzer? Thank you. Cool. So what I say is please keep organizing. Please come out, and I will be passing around a flyer about our rally for next weekend. And we're trying to get New York City to move money from cops and into care, like trans communities and keeping Callan Lord open.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Next, I'm going to try to pronounce this. Looks like Dimi. Sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jimmy, and I have 2 children here at PS33. And tonight, I strongly support the resolution 279. And I'm so speaking tonight, not just as a parent, but as someone who strongly believes that children deserve more than just survival. They deserve safety, dignity, and the opportunity to thrive. PS33 sits at the center of a $2 billion development plan, yet somehow our school have been left out of the equation. No protection plan, there is no guarantee of investment, and this isn't just about constructions. It's about the potential for decades of disruptions. With constant, unfiltered noise above legal limits, shadow casts over our classroom and playground, and toxic soil beneath our children's feet. There is no clear mitigation strategy, no commitment to a new school building, and no relocation plan if it becomes unsafe. Just vague promises and vanishing sunlight. Let me be clear tonight. We are not against progress, but we are against being ignored. And we know responsible development is possible because we've seen it. When Memorial Sloan Kettering built its cancer center next from PS 183 on the Upper East Side, they didn't acknowledge the disruption, but they act. They invest over $5 million in the school upgrade, from play yard renovation to the school air system. They use electrical crane to reduce noise, monitoring air quality on real time, and donate over $500 to the school PTA. That wasn't just mitigation, that was respect, the right thing to do. And therefore, we support the resolution 279 because our schools deserve better. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Mark. I didn't hear them call my name. I'm a little bit hard of hearing. Happy Pride Month. And I think it's kind of awesome that Maud's not here because that means she's not going to clog up everybody's speaking time like last time, where we only get 30 seconds because she yapped for quite a long time. And I think that it's great that we have the chance to actually maybe kill this bill. And I'm really happy that there's so many people here. And I'm really happy that so many people care about trans kids like me. Kids who just want to play sports. I can't play I've never been allowed to play sports at any of my schools in my life. And I hope that the freshmen who are coming to New York City high schools in the fall, or trans freshmen, are able to play whatever sports they want. That's all I want. And I hope that they all feel safe. And I just want to say happy Pride Month to everyone here. Happy Juneteenth. And yeah, that's basically it. Also, yeah, Charles Love is in here, Allison Bowen is in here, Maud Moran is in here. So like the vibes in here are a lot better than usual. But that's all.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Hi, Superintendent. I'm so delighted to see so many people. My name is Kristen Clifford. I'm a proud mom of 2 trans kids, and I thank you all so much for supporting trans kids. I am here again to say, please rescind 248. I am here to remind you that your actions here on this council are directly related to national actions. I am here to remind you that a trans District 2 student committed suicide last year. I am here to remind you of that again. Because you need, will you please look at me? Thank you, Allison. I look forward to seeing you in September also. A student committed suicide, and you are still trying to pass anti-trans legislation in this district. It is shameful. It is horrible. I have 2 trans kids, and I worry about them all the time. I want to say thank you to Alexandra and Lila, sorry. I want to say thank you to Aunties for Liberation. I want to say thank you to Transformative School. I want to say thank you to Jessica, Sarah, Sonal, and Gavin. Craig, Daniela, and Allison, we'll see you in September. Discrimination against one is discrimination against all. And all of these beautiful people here are here to help all kids, not just trans kids, but all kids to feel safe at school so that they can learn and be their true, beautiful selves. And that's all we want for all kids. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the first public speaker session. I have three. Victor, do you? Where's the Victor? Is there another? Is there a second signer? Did they sign the wrong sheet? Give Victor a second. Is it just the four of you? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't please. Okay, it'll be just these five, but we're not going to add anybody else at this point.
Hello. I've been attending these meetings for over a year, encouraged by friends to see the blatant transphobia on display in our New York City public schools. I've seen members of this CEC group shout at each other and at us, having full-on meltdowns at times. I've seen them run from their duties in the middle of meetings. It's been embarrassing to see and frustrating to see and heartbreaking. I come from a line of New York City public school teachers. My mother recently retired after decades of teaching math to middle schoolers, and my grandmother taught me reading before her. I've come here to be a witness, to be a supporter of my trans community, and especially of trans children. In this wonderful city I call home, it was ghastly to me that parents would weaponize anti-trans talking points in order to push out grade schoolers from sports participation and social transition. But I'm here to say thank you to people like Maud Marin and Charles Love. These are people who are put on this earth to teach us how strong we are. They've brought us together because our love of ourselves, our peers, our students, and our kids is so much more powerful than the hate that they spew. Ultimately, they're going to be a bad memory, and we're going to have each other celebrate our wins and continue to uplift trans kids and adults, because all we've ever asked for is equal rights and kind treatment, and that's not too much to ask for. Here's to us. Here's to our champions on this school board. Thank you. Who have spoken and stood firm for trans kids. Here's to the students who've spoken even when it's scary, and for us who've been here for each other. Let us always remember that fierceness and love got here. We will protect what we love, and they will try to destroy us with hate, but we'll just keep coming back for each other. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Calliope. I go to Stuyvesant High School and I'm a co-president of the GSA there. And I've been coming to these meetings all school year, starting in September. And nearly every month I think I've come and I've spoken to defend and fight for my rights and those of my community. And it really hasn't been, I don't really enjoy this. You know, I've been bullied, I've been heckled, I've been harassed, generally made to feel awful. And so one of the members of this board, not to name names, I will name names, Maud Marin, who just lost the election to several much better candidates, has sought me out at school events at my school, stared at me uncomfortably. She's recorded me directly with her own phone without my consent. She's hired a camera crew that recorded me without my consent and against the advice of the superintendent. And I don't like that. I really just don't like that. I hate coming here, but I'm really proud of the whole community that's sprung up around these meetings and around this effort to repeal 248. I think it's so amazing to see the same group of people coming back here month after month, despite this constant onslaught on all of our rights, just to show that we're here, that we're fighting, and that we won't give up. Most of the people that I see in front of me have a better attendance record than Maud Marin, so that's something to be proud of. I'm really proud that we were able to get the two most out of control bigoted members of this board to lose the election. I'm really happy about that, and I think that you guys really give me hope. That's what I feel when I'm here. Even though our community is under attack, our rights are under attack, even though the Supreme Court ruled today that our care can be restricted, I have so much hope for my future and for all of our futures being here and seeing you speak and seeing you stand up for us. Thank you so much.
Hi, y'all know me. I'm Carrie. I don't know. I've been here like 14, 15 months, month after month. I'm a parent. I've lived in New York City for 34 years, raised two daughters, mostly in D2 schools. And as a mom of a trans youth, today my social feeds were filled with sadness, rage, and advice on how to leave the country. Not something to smile about, Len. Did you know you can get a visa to live in the Netherlands for $5,200? I didn't know that until today. And Craig, as you brag about your 600 votes winning this seat, I want you to know how much harm you have caused our community and my family with your continued support of Resolution 248. Abstentions are support, and your repeated lie that you are just asking for a conversation. It's such a convenient excuse for bigotry and transphobia. With those words, you betrayed your own lived experience as a gay man and your own lived experience and the history of your ancestors, because you know what's next. Today, children all over the country, children lost their right to receive life-saving health care. It's not something, there's no joy here for me tonight as a mom. You know, I know it's life-saving because I have lived this with my daughter. But you don't listen to me every month when I come here and tell you that. And the difference between you and me, Craig, is that I didn't turn my back on my kid or any kid. I didn't have to ask for a conversation that would put her or any trans person in danger. I fought for her just like I would for your kid. I would fight for your kid. Would you fight for my kid? I guess not. So I ask you now that Maude and Charles are gone. And Allison, we still see you. Is your kid going to be proud of you when their trans peers are dead or moved to the Netherlands? Shame on you. Rescind 248. And for everyone else, look at what we did. We are ragtagged and underprepared, and you better be really worried about how organized we'll be for the next time.
Hey, good evening. My name is Michael. I'm a D2 parent, and this is my sixth Community Education Council meeting. Last month, when I spoke, I discussed some serious attendance and voting issues. But last month, we had full attendance, and votes were taken on more resolutions that night than in the previous 4 meetings combined that I attended. So, I want to say thank you to the council, sincerely. Thank you to the council. I also want to say thank you to the community. As the parent of a thriving 20-year-old beautiful trans woman, I'm especially grateful. Many of our community don't even have kids, and yet they feel it's important enough to show up to the community education council meetings to fight for the next generation's rights. Maybe that's because some of our community knows exactly what it's like to grow up trans. Maybe they just want better for the next generation, just like all parents want for their kids. So, I hope our council will continue to listen to our community. Please rescind 248. Thank you.
Much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm obviously gonna need, okay, hold on. A toast. I think that we've earned it. I'm so sorry. I tried to bring more bottles of apple cider, but I assumed that we would have a much smaller crowd. I just have a tiny granny cart with me. We can get drinks afterwards if y'all want to come to Henny's. We're doing after party there. But I kind of want to read something that would feel important to me as a trans kid who was not able to transition, and I felt like I was dying on the inside, and I didn't know if I'd make it to be the happy, loved person I am today. So I'm going to read this. It's from Surviving Transphobia. They are adults bullying the vulnerable, rejecting science in favor of transparent bigotry, and their strategy is so very plain: incite hate, violence, fear, and despair, silence our voices, minimize our access to services, limit our ability to exist in the public sphere, to generate votes and establish precedent later, to restrict any form of otherhood they choose as part of their extremist coup to create white, supremacist, Christian, nationalist, fascist America. Our community is already increasingly traumatized. To them, I say, not happening. You forget that we are fierce. We reject your attempts to eliminate us. We refuse to vanish just to make it easier for you to ignore your un-Christ-like intolerance. We have confronted the gender binary and transphobia since the earliest moment of recorded history, and we will still exist ages after your attempts to eliminate us ultimately fail. Get over it. Fuck the dissenters. And happy summer. Perfect timing.
Thank you. Moving on is next the president's report, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you and good evening, everybody. I want to thank PS33 for their hospitality. Thank you to Principal Cindy Wang and her staff. I want to start off by acknowledging June acknowledges various communities. June is Immigrant Heritage Month. It's Caribbean American Heritage Month, of course, Pride Month, and also Happy Juneteenth. A few announcements. G&T offers for grades 1 through 4 are now available. I'm sure everyone who has applied has checked to see their offers, but please, just in case you didn't, please check My Schools. The 2025-2026 calendar is out. It's been updated. Everything, there are a couple of changes. You can access it from the DOE website, and I'll get it up on our website this week. The first day of school is Thursday, September 4th. A reminder as we conclude this school year, the New York City Schools Free Summer Meals Program provides free breakfast and lunch across all 5 boroughs to anyone 18 years of age or younger. No applications are required, and for more information on locations and dates, please visit on.nyc.gov/summer meals. A couple of items from our district. As the district thinks about compliance with class size mandates and the best use of space and how everything ties together, there have been discussions about the future of our two of our middle schools, 75 Morton and Salk. Superintendent McGuire can talk more about this. I want to emphasize nothing is decided. Nothing is happening for this fall. Again, I'm going to let Superintendent McGuire talk more about this, but right now, the district is just having preliminary discussions with all of the affected communities to get feedback. We will monitor on the CEC. This CEC overwhelmingly passed a resolution 10-1. There was one person who voted against it, urging the Board of Elections to cease the use of public buildings for early voting on school days. One of the affected schools is Lab Middle. And I can tell you because I was voting yesterday and we kind of did get in the way, voters of the students. I've been in conversations with the Department of Education, with the DOE, who has in turn been in contact with the Board of Elections for months. And I've even identified a possible alternative site. I did some legwork on this. I'm pleased to report that it's looking good for moving early voting in the fall. I got an update on Monday that the plan is to relocate. I'm not going to say where, but it's not that far. And things will be finalized after the primaries. It's not a definite yes. I don't want to say it is, but it's certainly the right track. I'll continue to monitor. I'm glad our work has paid off, and we'll continue to look at alternatives to Wagner because there's also early voting there, and they wind up losing their gym for like 2 or 3 months a year. I would take a second. I know Superintendent McGuire will probably speak about retiring principals. I do want to take a second be selfish a little bit. My assistant principal at PS 340, Rachel Rosenbaum, is being stolen by PS2. She will be the new acting principal at PS2. It is a huge loss for PS 340, a massive gain for PS2. She is absolutely wonderful. We will absolutely miss her at PS 340, but I'm sure she will flourish and bring PS2 to new heights. I just wanted to take a second for that. Finally, I would like to thank each of the council members for their hard work and efforts this term. We clearly had a controversial term, and we don't agree on paths forward on a lot of things and policy, but we all want the very, very best for District 2. We got much accomplished, bringing back the honors and screen programs in several of our middle schools. We had resolutions protesting the 60-day shelter limit of the mayor. We had a resolution addressing anti-Semitism, and one asking for Narcan access, and one advocating for daylighting provisions. Resolutions on funding librarians and lice checks, asking for enhanced data on non-compliance for services to students with disabilities. Several resolutions on school safety, protecting the Shasat, and finally, something we received well over 1,000 emails asking for, restoration of geographic priority for some of our high schools, alleviating a stress point for many of our 8th graders, many times that had resulted in pushing kids out of the New York City school system. So I want to thank my council members for their hard work. I would like to thank Lila and Alexandra for their hard work. I know Alexandra's not here. They have been fantastic. They have been fantastic advocates. So I want to thank both of you. I want to wish you both well in your future endeavors. Do you want to share where you're going next year? You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay. Well,
I'm going to NYU and I'm going to be majoring in global public health and biology.
So congratulations, and thank you so much for your service to the students of this district. I would also want to particularly like to single out one person, my friend Len. Len has served on the CEC for 6 years after, I think it's a decade of service as both the PTA president as well as the leader of the District 2 President's Council. Although there are rumors it's actually not 10 years, it's probably about 30. Len will be moving on. His sons are out of District 2, and all 3 of them are doing wonderfully. They're doing some great things. His middle son is serving our country. Len has been a tireless advocate for years, and our district families owe him a debt of gratitude. So thank you, Len, and we will miss you. You gotta remember, 10 years doesn't get paid anything. He's, countless hours. When he was running the President's Council, that was coordinating 40, 50 PTA presidents. It's not an easy thing, I can tell you.
I just want to say when I finished my term as a PTA president, I cried. I literally cried. I will not be crying tonight. Okay, just so we're clear. But it's been a pleasure serving. It's been a pleasure serving with all of you. Includes everyone on that side of the room. I'm pointing at you guys. Includes you. Includes everyone. It's really been a pleasure. And I hope that the next council can find the common ground on enough issues to hopefully get some things accomplished.
So that now, as we move to the future, I look forward to working with the new council. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Kelly McGuire.
I do think that the amount of hours and time that you put in as service to the district is very worthy of appreciation. We have certainly not always seen eye to eye, but I appreciate everything you've done, Len. Thank you. And to all the council members who are not returning to our board next year, maybe you'll come and join the crowd here out in the audience. Never know. But thanks so much, everybody, for welcoming me here tonight. A couple of weeks ago, we held our Gender Sexuality Alliance Summit at 75 Morton. The summit was a gathering of all GSAs from across our District 2 schools. The GSA celebration was funded by Councilmember Botcher, who brought a bunch of toys and different treats for our students. He also helped to sponsor a tour of the Stonewall National Monument, and it was just a great day for our students in District 2. Yes, we have 3 principals that are retiring this year. Doreen Esposito of Manhattan New School, Savannah Eng of PS2, and Rhonda Perry from the Salk School of Science. I have worked with these folks for quite some years. They are not just people to whom I go when I need advice and encountering challenging situations. They're just very, very smart folks who have had a huge impact on our district, and I will be indebted to them for quite some time. We are welcoming in 3 new interim acting principals. Amy O'Brien is currently the assistant principal of PS 290. She's been there for over 20 years and is excited to take on the IA role. Rachel Rosenbaum, as President Slutskin mentioned, is currently the assistant principal of PS 340, but she's been at but she is moving to PS 2 as the interim acting principal. She had previously served as an assistant principal in Corona, Queens for about 11 years. She has a strong background in working with students who are English language learners and their families. And Marsha Wallace has been the assistant principal at the Salk School of Science. Marsha has been at Salk for over 20 years as well. So we feel very, very confident that the strong work of these school leaders will continue in their new schools as interim acting principals. As we move into our year 2 and year 3 of our NYC Reads and NYC Solves programs, we're going to continue to make sure that we are strengthening the core curriculum, and we're doing that in partnership, not just with our school-based supports and coaches, but the Great Minds organization, who are the publishers of the Wit and Wisdom curriculum, as well as New Visions, who has been supporting us with mathematics and the implementation of illustrative math. We're going to continue to work with them, and they're going to provide direct coaching both to our teachers and our school leaders. We see great things ahead for our district as we continue to work with these partners. We are also working to strengthen our intervention and enrichment programs. Several of our schools are instituting a special period in the school day called a What I Need or WIN period. The WIN periods are really opportunities for students to participate in homogeneous groups focused on skills and strategies that are closest to them and are most directly connected with what they need to grow in. We are also going to do a couple of different things to help to really enrich our 2 curricula. With the NYC Reads curriculum throughout the year, what we've seen is an increasing number of schools that are taking advantage of museums and special celebrations and opportunities around the district. Many schools have participated in field trips that are directly connected with the modules that they're learning in literacy. I shared earlier in May that we visited the Museum of the City of New York, which is actually, that museum is actually instituting a whole new exhibition that is aligned with our Wit and Wisdom curriculum. So we're just very happy to be able to partner with the rich resources that are here in the city. In mathematics, as I mentioned, we're going to continue to grow our math enrichment. Our students are going to be participating in a district-wide and actually a statewide math Olympiad, which includes some different competitions and opportunities just to celebrate and have fun with math. So we feel good about these 2 initiatives moving forward into the coming year. Next slide. So as President Slutskin mentioned, we have been in conversation with both the Salk School of Science and 75 Morton. These are very, very preliminary conversations, but we know that the Salk School of Science has done a tremendous job of providing a program to communities throughout the years. The Salk School of Science every single year has several hundred applicants for around 100 seats. We think that we can both strengthen opportunities for families by increasing the number of seats. And one way that we might be able to do that is through a partnership with the 75 Morton School. 75 Morton has a short history, but it is deep and enriched. When I began as principal of the Greenwich Village Middle School back in 2005, many folks at that time were looking for a middle school in Greenwich Village. And we actually looked at the 75 Morton building 22 years ago as a possibility for an expanded middle school. So there's a long and rich history of families in the Greenwich Village neighborhood working toward a middle school. And there are several members of the 75 Morton faculty that have been there since day one. And it's important to bring all voices together should we decide to figure out how it is that we might partner together, either through a co-location, a merger. Maybe there isn't a plan that we can move forward with for the fall of 2026, but this is certainly a conversation that we want to get started. We also know that there are class size legislation that is coming down the pike, and we really need to think about how it is that we can preserve seats here in District 2. The PS40 building, which is a shared building with both PS40 and Salk, is at about 140% capacity. So there's really no way for that building to be able to support the number of students that are currently attending PS40 and Salk. So we think that there's a way that we might be able to partner these two schools together to move forward with a plan that preserves great seats and opportunities for kids in our district. Again, we are at the very beginning plan, very beginning conversations. We just needed to get these ideas out there to families so that we could begin talking about them. The next step is that we are working to bring together teachers and parents from 75 Morton, teachers and parents from the Salk School, and bring them together to meet a couple of times throughout the summer and then engage in more conversations with the public in the fall. And hopefully we can work towards something that would be mutually beneficial for both schools. We think that there is a great opportunity there. Nothing is happening for the 25-26 school year. We don't know how long the timeline would be for any kind of work, but we do know that we've got some real needs coming up. And there have been lots of great options that have been put out there on the table. A lot of great ideas that have been shared with both schools in regard to a plan forward. So we're looking forward to having that conversation with that community. At our last meeting, someone had asked how it is that new teachers in District 2 are breaking down in regard to elementary, middle school, and kindergarten through 8th grade. This is the way that those are, that 127 teachers are breaking down. 81 of them will be in elementary school, 13 in K-8, and 33 in middle school. Next slide, please. I was also asked for a little bit more data and information in regard to suspensions in our district. So we have 48 schools in our district, and we have 2 pre-K principals, 1 pre-K program. Very happy to report that we didn't suspend any pre-K students this past year. Chalk it up for a small win. But in this past year, we had 45 fewer suspensions than the previous year. And in 36 of our schools, we had fewer than 10 suspensions. And in 12 of our schools, we had 0 suspensions. So unfortunately, though, we do still have a lot of work to do. As we have stated in the past, we have a real goal around reducing the number of suspensions of our Black students and our students with disabilities. Our Hispanic students are not suspended at quite the rate as our Black and students with disabilities. But all three of those groups are, the number of suspensions is far more disproportionate than that of our white, Asian, multi-language learners and students without disabilities. So this is a goal that we would like to work with our both our schools and our upcoming CEC on. We think that there is some opportunity here to build conversation. We think that one of the things that's really, really important to focus on, especially for our students with disabilities, is how is it that we are providing strong supports in the classroom to support all learners. We believe that if we can create the classroom as a really positive place for kids, where kids feel that they belong and kids feel supported, that school will become a place in which they thrive. So this is definitely work for us in the coming year. As an update to work that we are doing here in the district, we have been briefed and several of our principals have recently, or we've pulled together our principals to remind them of the rules and regulations regarding the treatment of non-local law enforcement here in our schools. There is some concern about announcements that are coming out of Washington in regard to New York City as being a target for increased presence of non-local law enforcement. Our school leaders, our parent coordinators, our school safety agents have been reminded and briefed again on this policy, these policies and procedures for how it is that we address that situation should schools confront that. Summarizing is coming up very, very quickly. PS6, 130, PS2, 131, Peck Slip, 75 Morton, Roosevelt Island, PS 111, and Eastside Middle School. All of those schools are hosting summarizing programs. These are just fantastic programs that are offered to families free of charge that include both academic and enrichment programs. We're excited about this coming up. We've got a lot of families that are currently on the list of students to be participating. We hope that they all show up, we're asking families to make sure that they attend on day one and that they're communicating with their summarizing site. Juneteenth is tomorrow, and our last day of school is June 26th. And then, as Craig mentioned, September 4th is the first day of school for the 25-26 school year. Again, welcome to our returning CEC members, and to those who may be watching online, we welcome you and look forward to working with you in the coming year. As President Slutskin also mentioned, the city made an announcement in regard to a financial literacy initiative that is the city is going to be developing. And I'm very proud of a group of our middle school leadership conference students. We have a small group of students from a few of our middle schools that actually have been working on this project for the last 3 years. And they have actually met with the chancellor's office in regard to ways that we can increase financial literacy across our district and infuse that curriculum, whether it's in core instruction or in advisory. But we're very excited that our district is one of the pilot districts and gets to participate in the new financial literacy work. And with that, I thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
So it's the second year of NYC Reads, but it's my understanding correct that it's the first year of implementation of Wit and Wisdom in our district, everywhere, right? Every school, right? And so I would love to know what are the lessons learned of this first year of implementation of Wit and Wisdom, and specifically, what can we do about schools that are still making kids read letter level books, which my understanding is that is not as aligned with the science of reading and is not the best practice. But there are still schools recommending kids to read, you know, they test, you're at level M, you need to read books level M, which
my understanding, again, I'm not an expert in this area, but my understanding is that that's not best practice.
So what I can say is that, we have 37 elementary schools. We have a couple of practices that we are still working to root out. And we are working closely with those principals to move fully in full alignment with wit and wisdom. Yeah. What are the main lessons from the first year of implementation? So we've learned a lot about how it is that we can assess students, not just at the end of a module, but how it is that we can collect student information from students on how it is that they're performing throughout a module. There are some smaller assessments that are built into the curriculum, and we're learning to make better use of those and understand what the data and information from those really means. We have some schools that have done a great job, and because it's been a part of their routine for a while, of implementing routines like the Socratic seminar and this school class-wide discussion. We are learning of different ways that we can make sure to strengthen those practices as well. We've learned a lot about what it is that, and I know this sounds a little bit general, but like what it is that we can keep and what it is that we can cut out and what it is that we can move through quickly. We were actually just talking today about ways that we can help teachers recognize if there's a series of 5 questions that students are asked, sometimes you don't have to answer all 5 to recognize that kids get it and you can move on. So that is going to come with continued, teaching and understanding and knowing the curriculum. There's a lot of things that we've learned, and we've also learned a lot about how it is that we can do a better job of engaging families to know more about the curriculum. So we just had a big debrief on that, and we're looking forward to it in the coming year. You mentioned the queuing system, which we, think of mostly in that early childhood, kindergarten through 2nd grade. That's actually the place where we feel best about the shift in practice. Like that's been pretty universally accepted that that is not a way of helping kids read words that they didn't necessarily know. So the phonics and phonemic awareness work in those early grades we feel very good about where that's at.
So a couple of questions. One is I hear reports about some schools lacking Omni cards for students, and like some schools lack Omni cards. Like they have run out of Omni cards, and so students who lost their Omni card are not able to get a new one. And so I wonder, have you been hearing that in some of our schools, and who is the responsible person to deal with it?
I don't, Kelly, if you've heard it directly from people, I mean, I think we know.
So we have heard that. We've worked directly with parent coordinators when that's come up. There's a few issues. One, they are not nearly as durable as the old cards. And so when they are easily either lost or damaged. And so just the rate of trying to replace them takes a little bit of time. And our district family advocate have worked with individual parent coordinators. If there is an ongoing issue, then we're addressing it school by school.
And then the one other question is, well, actually a couple other questions. One question is about I was really glad to see to hear you mention the Museum of the City of New York and the initiative to go there. And in particular, I hope that the students if students go there, they will go see the Activist New York exhibit, which is very rich, very interesting exhibit. And it actually, I was also encourage everyone here to go because it actually does feature the opposition to Resolution 248. You can see it right there in the exhibition. I've been a couple times. I'll probably go again in this summer. And then I also just want to add in respect of Salk and 75 Morton that 75 Morton is a great school. Some of you in the audience may remember we had one of our meetings several months ago in 75 Morton. They do have capacity, and I hope that you'll work with like the Community Board 2, Community Board 4, because I know that there is some interest in having expanded middle school options in that area. And then and finally, in respect of ICE, I do appreciate you again repeating the guidance from the chancellor, from the schools about dealing with non-local law enforcement. And I'm wondering that on the ground in our schools here in District 2, are you hearing reports about sightings or rumors about ICE activity near our schools? And if so, is there a channel or a mechanism that gets reported and tracked at the New York City Public Schools level?
So yes, we have not heard of any non-local law enforcement coming into interaction with any schools or having anything to do with any students or families around or near schools. What I can say is I put this on the deck because we wanted to reiterate to families the protocol. I'm sorry, reiterate to principals the protocol for how it is that we address this. But we also added that principals or any staff who all have our cell phone numbers should contact one of us immediately should they suspect that something is going on in the neighborhood. It's a concern. It's a concern at all levels, I think, here in the city. We want to make sure that we're providing as quick a support, as fast as support, accurate support to schools should that become necessary. I'll also just say that in the upcoming Summer Rising program, that the second half of the day is supported by the Department of Youth and Community Development, and the City Hall is communicating with DYCD to make sure that they're aware of the protocols as well, because we do have a lot of students from families seeking asylum who attend Summer Rising.
Yeah, I'd like to get some more information or clarity on what you mentioned about Saul and Morton middle schools combining, right? With increasing seats. I kind of got that part. Is it also, if there's space, is there potential to have a 6 through 12? I'm just throwing it out there. If there's space available, because there's not that many schools that we have. Right, we have a very few that go up till 8th grade. There's none that actually combine middle school until 12th. That would be very nice.
Yes, several families have mentioned the 6 through 12 option. I think I heard it from the community board in the area as well. It's a very popular idea, and I put it out there to our Office of Space Planning to see what it is that might be possible. For those, maybe Lila can talk about what it's like to attend a 6 through 12 school as a graduate, soon to be graduate of Clinton. But we know that model of school is very popular amongst families in the district. It's great. She says it's great. Okay. Got one vote.
The two questions. The first is related to the financial literacy program. So I'm not familiar with sort of the content of that program, but I'm curious if you could speak about how much of that program really focuses on things like consumer protection and fraud, and not just how to invest a dollar, right, but how to protect your dollar. Because I think when we talk about financial literacy, I think it's also important to educate the children and families on consumer protection.
I actually don't know the full curricula, but I think that that's a great idea. And it's definitely not just about investment, although I do know that as a part of the Save for College program, with the city's investment in a college fund for all kids when they're really young here in the city, they use that a bit as a model for helping students to model out how it is that they might end up paying for university when they get older. But that's a great point about protecting, because yes, I think that's one of the concerns, is that kids can fall victim very easily. Kids can get themselves into debt very quickly. But yeah.
And then the second question is about PS 281. So as you are aware, there's been a vote of no confidence against the principal. And just before I ask my question, I just want to read from the actual vote, the letter. So this is PS 281, the River School. The conduct that is occurring at the school includes deliberate targeting of students and staff who are part of a legally protected class, such as people of color and persons with disabilities. It also includes unprofessional physical contact with students, unfair labor practices, and and other things. There is a litany, as you are aware, of that conduct. It reminds me very much of what is going on at PS3. And I think that what the families of PS 281 have asked of this council is some accountability and a plan from the district. So I have a number of questions based on that for you. I understand that there is some kind of an investigation planned or ongoing. I know that there is some concern about teachers leaving, teacher retaliation, families leaving. And these are serious allegations of racial discrimination, of, lack of compliance with services for students with disabilities, but really just animus and inappropriate conduct towards both those groups and probably others. So the question is, if there is an investigation going on, what are the typical steps that the DOE takes that are involved in an investigation of this kind?
So I can't comment on anything happening there at all.
I want the contents of the investigation.
Anybody.
What is the investigation? What does it entail?
Sure. Any parent, any child, any staff member can initiate an investigation based on something that they've experienced in the school. There are 3 different organizations in New York City that handle investigations of this type: the Office of Equal Opportunity, the Special Commissioner of Investigations, and the Office for Special Investigations. When a case is sent to them, sometimes they choose to initiate they have to do something with that. But sometimes they choose to keep a case like that and investigate it on their own. Sometimes they choose to do some preliminary investigation and then send it to our office for further follow-up. Sometimes they send it to our office immediately. And there's a range of different things. There's not like one set timeline in which investigation is completed. There's a range of different things that take place after an investigation is initiated.
An investigation has been initiated, as far as you are aware.
I'm not going to talk about
You can't
anything in relationship to that. I mean, I'm not going to talk about any.
So what I would ask is this, another question from the community is, will there be an opportunity for community input in either of these three different processes of investigation?
Yeah, I mean, I have already spoken with teachers at PS 281, the parents at 281. I met with the PTA this morning at 281. I met with a group of parents for an hour and a half after that PTA meeting. I made myself very available and continue to make myself available should anybody want to share more different experiences, their own child's experience, their own experience at 281. I'm very open to that.
I understand. And you listen and you take all this information. The simple question is, what next? What happens? Where is the accountability? What's the next step? Again, substantive investigations aside, can you give some, I mean, we have members of the PS 281 community, many of them online and in the audience here as well. So just give them something that this is actually being addressed, because you do have conversations, you take all the information, you hear, but it has happened before where there is no follow through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially for a family that feels as though their child has been discriminated against, or they have been discriminated against for any reason, like, it is very natural. It makes total sense that people want to hear something immediately and quick. And I am committed to giving out whatever information I can as per the direction that I receive through different investigations. That's the process that has to be followed. There are some things that I can share. I wouldn't share any information about anybody's child with another family. I wouldn't share anything public about an individual teacher or staff member. Some things just need to be handled between some things are just handled directly between myself and a staff member, if that's the situation that is being investigated. But really what we need to do is just follow the process, which I will do, and see where that goes next, see what it is that I am able to share. You're asking me to share something that I cannot share, and so I can't share anything further on that.
Is there a timeline for the process? We're reaching the end of the year. We have a new school year starting. I understand staff works through the school year the summer to prepare, but what's the time frame?
Yeah, I mean, we want to move as quickly as possible with this, but I can't provide a specific timeline.
Can you just please then give the PS 281 community, the members that are online, the members that are in this office, your word that you will follow this through, continue to stay on it, not let it dwindle like it has happened in other situations? I think they just need somebody who's going to follow through, do the right thing, listen, and actually take action.
Yeah, and that's why I was there this morning.
I think he said, yeah. Was that a yes? I think they just want to hear a yes.
I don't know what the question is.
The question is, do they have your word that you will follow through and stay on top of
Absolutely.
this issue?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. First, I do want to thank you. I know we have had our disagreements, but it's been a pleasure working with you over the years. And I'm going to miss that aspect of this position. I do have a couple of questions related to a couple of things that you've said. Also, we have a resolution number 277 on the agenda tonight that kind of leans heavily into the concept, and to use the sponsor's words, there's a disproportionality in terms of superintendent suspensions, for example, Black students being suspended more than their proportion in schools. The same thing for a disproportionality, students with disabilities as well as students in shelters and LGBTQ plus students. So I want to ask you just a number of questions about that because I think your answers will be helpful to framing the debate that we're going to have in a few moments. The first question is, could you just explain what a superintendent suspension is and how that differs from, let's say, a principal suspension? And that's the first question.
A superintendent suspension is typically a longer suspension for a more serious incident. Despite its name, it is not me making the decision about a suspension. There is actually a suspension office that reviews the evidence from a case and makes a determination on whether or not a longer suspension should ensue. There is also because it's a longer suspension, there is a hearing that is included as a part of that. Students might be suspended for a couple of days initially, and then a hearing, and then a determination down the line as to whether or not that should be longer. That number of days and that process is facilitated by an Office of Suspensions in Manhattan. A principal suspension is a shorter suspension. It could be 1 day. It could be up to 2, 3. I don't think that I've seen a principal suspension for anything more than 3 days in our district. That is a shorter term suspension, that a decision that is made by the principal. The student remains in the school, but may be pulled out of the classroom, spending time in the office, or some schools have what they call a save room with the dean of students. It's a shorter term suspension for a less serious incident.
So my next question is, you kind of alluded to this. Can you just explain what safeguards and what due process protections there are for students in terms of a principal suspension and a superintendent suspension? I'm sure you follow rules, must follow guidelines. It's not just arbitrarily applied. Can you just tell us what the due process protections are for those, what that involves?
There are chancellor's regulations that specifically relate to how it is that students at different grade levels, how it is that a school might respond to a behavior infraction, a misbehavior, something naughty, how it is that schools might respond to that kind of behavior. The chancellor's regulations lays out both different options for how it is that a school might respond to misbehavior, as well as parameters for how it is a school might respond. If a student gets up and walks out of the classroom, you can't initiate a superintendent suspension. So there are parameters that are connected to those chancellor's regulations. And so a school has some choices based on a bunch of different factors, based on the seriousness of the type of incident, based on whether or not the incident was the first or second behavior infraction of that type. And not all of the responses that are on this list of potential actions are suspension or removal. We include counseling as one of the options. We include a phone call to parents. We include a conference with the child. We include a restorative circle. We include meeting with the guidance counselor. There are lots of different ways in which student behavior can be addressed that is different than suspension or exclusion.
Now we're going to get to the heart of the questions. And as a superintendent in this district for a number of years now, have you yourself seen any evidence of any bias or implicit bias that you've been able to determine in superintendent suspensions or in principal suspensions in District 2? And what do you do, or what do you do at the administrative level to ensure that there isn't any bias in terms of how those suspensions are either administered or allocated to various members of the student community?
I will say that if I ever witnessed or even thought that there might be the potential for bias, then I would initiate one of these investigations that Councilmember Patel spoke about, as would my colleagues here for sure. What I can say is that there are students in our schools that thrive on the kind of attention and support that they need to meet their unique learning needs. It's not just students with disabilities or not just English language learners. There are kids who need to feel a sense of belongingness in the classroom. And it is work that we are doing and need to do more of in order to make sure that those kids feel as though the classroom is a place where they can thrive. I think that the suspensions do point to an area that we need to work on. I think that it does point to more training that we need to do with school-based and district staff. I don't think that we would see such disproportionate suspensions. Or I do think that we will see a reduction in the disproportionate number of suspensions if after doing more training and support with our teachers.
Is the training that you're talking about more geared towards restorative justice, or is it geared towards just maybe trying to find an alternate solution to a suspension? That's
not just more alternatives to suspension. One thing that's important to note, and I don't know if your question, if you're asking it specifically about restorative justice, but 90% of restorative justice is about building strong relationships between teachers and students. People often think it's just, the final circle where you sit down and negotiate a disciplinary consequence, which is actually not what really happens anyway. But 90% of that is around thinking about how it is that we can create these relationships and build supportive environments for kids. So yes, improving our restorative practices is one of the things that we would do, but also some of the things that Councilmember Egorov pointed to in terms of strengthening curricula, making kids who are sitting in classrooms, receiving instruction without the supports, without high quality instructional practices. I don't think anybody's going to find themselves very engaged. The number of people who left after I started talking, if I was more engaging, maybe fewer people would leave. But I think that that's part of the kind of environment that we want to create for kids.
We're getting to the very end. And just are suspensions punitive, or are they there to protect the community, or is it a combination of both? I mean, when you suspend a child or a student, is that to kind of punish them, or is it to just say, hey, this child might represent a threat because of the infraction or whatever the behavior was?
I tend not to think of suspension as a way of protecting the community. I think there are many other things that we can do if, in a very rare case, we think that a student does pose a danger in some kind of way. Then there's a lot of different things. We talk about this a lot. How is it that a school can create the kind of environment that is going to protect the students who are there, as well as address specific incidents that might occur with a student? In some cases, a student is suspended as a punishment. Even if students are suspended, the most important thing that happens after a child returns from there's a lot of important steps that happen after a child returns from suspension to bring them back into the community.
Do you feel there's any evidence that any executive order issued by the President of the United States is going to affect the way that suspensions are administered in District 2?
I'm not familiar with the executive order. I don't know.
Yeah, the question was, are you aware of any executive order or any order issued by the President of the United States that might somehow affect how its suspensions are administered in District 2? Do
you have any other?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that conversation.
Any more questions on this? Like, I have two questions.
Kind of a follow-up question.
Go ahead, Gavin.
Gavin, go. So, I guess my follow-up question is actually I would also encourage Len to and anyone here to watch our last Students with Disabilities Committee meeting. We actually had a presentation by Rohini Singh, who is the director of the School Justice Project at Advocates for Children, which was all about suspensions and disproportionality, and particularly the way it impacts students with disabilities. And so my question pertains to students with disabilities who are facing suspension. And one of the things we talked about at that meeting was, manifestation determination reviews, where, there is an investigation into whether the sort of the behavior that triggers the suspension relates to the student's disability. And then there's a different procedure to follow. And we know that, students with disabilities are disproportionately incurring suspensions. One of the things that came up in that meeting is that the actual rate of a sort of favorable outcome in that manifestation determination review, like determining that the behavior relates to the student's disability, is actually extremely low. And it's almost impossible to get an outcome, sort of a favorable outcome for the student without having an advocate there to sort of represent the family and to make that case. And so, most families don't have that resource, and they are sort of disproportionately impacted in that process. So I wonder if we have some data from District 2 about manifestation determination reviews, and to what percentage of them result in sort of a finding that the particular behavior that triggered a suspension relates to a student's disability.
I don't, but I think we can get it. I do think that's one of the areas in which, when we talk about improving our knowledge and capacity to support students with disabilities, that strong understanding of the manifestation determination legislation and rules and regs related to it is one area in which we could grow.
I'm going to respectfully disagree that sometimes suspensions are not to protect the community. I think it's concerning that this is being said when the recent history of our district, a child was almost killed at the cafeteria, had to leave an ambulance, require multiple surgeries. And we only know this because the parent talked to us before the lawyer got that parent and said, stop talking because you're going to get a massive deal with the district when you sue. And of course that those parents sued. And we know there is a written track record where the child that committed that crime and had created multiple problems at that school, there was not enough punitive measures. There was not enough measures to protect that community. And there was literally parents who sent emails to the principal, somebody's going to get hurt in that building, and it ended up happening. So I do think that's, in some cases, and it has happened very recent in our district, it is very important to have more measures to protect the community, because the physical safety of our students has to be paramount. So that I just want to make sure that this is on the record, given what has happened in our district in the recent history.
Just just to clarify, is that I'm not saying that in certain situations we don't need to do more to protect the safety of all students. It's always something that we can look at. I'm just saying that if we're only looking at suspending a student as a way of creating a safe environment, then I think that we're missing out on lots of other opportunities to create a safe environment.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first one, you may have said in your report, and if you did, I apologize if I missed it because I was doing slides. On the Summer Rising, how many students did not get an offer into Summer Rising that applied? Do you have a sense? Okay, but there were. I'm looking at Reggie, sorry. Because I think Reggie's the one who has the answer. So it's several that did not get an offer that applied, did not get it placed. So there's nobody on the wait list at this point. Anybody that wanted a spot got a spot. Sorry. Thanks.
There were certain schools that had students that were on the wait list. They took them off the wait list and parents had 3 days to accept the offer. So right now it's really on the families to just accept. We've actually over-enrolled in a lot of our sites. And that's based on historical trends because once we open up the enrollment, families don't show up.
Right, so it sounds like, sorry, Reggie, Dr. Higgins, it sounds like people may not accept, but everybody who wanted will get an offer. Maybe many of the families, there might be a small amount. It may just not be an offer to the school, their first choice school, right? Because schools are under enrolled. Do you think about that next year when you're putting locations together? You know, it's not, I know you don't have one at my school, but PS 340 was this year severely under enrolled. So next year we're not going to do PS 340. Does that come into the calculus of the enrollment rates of where you place these locations, of where you locate the programs? Okay. What's going on? And okay. Thank you. I'm not done. Sorry. The other question, sorry, makes you come back. Sorry. We talked about lessons learned from wit and wisdom. The other thing that was new, but sort of wasn't new because it came back this past year, were the screen programs in the 4 middle schools. What lessons have you learned having gone through it now for a year, and what feedback have you gotten? What avenues have you taken to get feedback from the parents and the students of those programs of what worked in those programs this year, what didn't? Because I've heard anecdotally, so there's no study or anything like that, but I've heard anecdotally things ranging from it was really good to nothing bad, but you know, the sort of so-so. So what have you done to reach out, or what will you do? And what have you heard so far thus far?
So we have gotten especially feedback from Baruch and Wagner that the programs were very popular. They're very popular again in the coming year. We have begun to get some feedback from the school leaders around how it is that we want to strengthen curricula in addition to math. We know that there's an accelerated math component that's built in. We want to think about how it is that we can accelerate and strengthen opportunities in the screen programs in other curricular areas. We do have a debrief planned with both principals and teachers. We also need to plan a debrief with students as well. So it is more to come, but the feedback was good in this year. It's obviously continuing, and there are wait lists at the schools for the coming year, and we're going to continue to improve it.
One of the things that we talked about last month was math, was the accelerated math. And you mentioned this in the DLT, the district leadership team meeting on Monday, of potentially bringing steps towards bringing geometry as an option for students who are ready for it. And I think there was an announcement at Lab today that they might be doing something. Can you talk about what steps you've taken and what plans there are and in which schools?
So we held a meeting with all of our middle schools about the possibility of introducing geometry. The challenge is that the schools feel as though the number of students that would be ready for geometry in each school is, probably less than 10. However, there are a few different resources that we've looked into. And I think it is likely in the very near future that there will be an option, almost like an elective, at some of our schools for geometry and for middle school geometry. There are a few schools that are very interested in getting something like this going. I don't know the degree to which they've talked about it with their communities yet. So I'm going to let the principals, talk about that in their communities. But we did explore some options. We got some great info from our central team. And we think that we can do this in a way that doesn't necessarily impact the other programs that we have going on, that it could be a complement to some of the other programs that are happening in our middle schools.
So this is working. Okay, it's working. It didn't work for a while. So you only have 10 in every, no more than 10 in this school, because Wagner is a very big school. It's hard to believe that only 10 kids in all of Wagner. I mean, how many students are in each grade at Wagner? I mean, and Baruch has like 9 sections also.
350. So yeah.
Right. So what is that? 3%?
There's not kids in each school, but we're trying to figure out how it is that we might make that a possibility.
Long term, because I know it's hard to do in the fall this way, but long term, wouldn't it be more ordinal? So then 7th grade was algebra, 8th grade was there was more of a specific track that they start off in when they get in 6th grade. I'm asking. I don't know. Wouldn't that make, as a long-term solution, wouldn't that make more sense?
There are different ways of doing it.
Because right now, I think the way you'd have to do it is you're taking algebra and geometry together, right? If you're in 8th grade, that doesn't make sense
not
either.
Necessarily, yeah.
Okay.
Some of our schools have different ideas about how it is that they might want to go about doing this. So we don't have like a plan just yet, but I'm just saying that we've been talking about it. I do think that we're going to be able to do something in the district.
Okay. Did you want to ask me?
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the plans for the geometry, I wanted to make kind of highlight that some of the schools have brought up having algebra starting in 6th grade, right? 6th and 7th, dividing the curriculum into 6th and 7th. So there's 2 years of algebra, and then they're ready for geometry for 8th grade. That's a potential suggestion. I also wanted to bring up the fact that you were mentioning we have waiting lists in some of our middle schools. Why not open those programs that we were only able to offer for 5 middle schools to some of the other middle schools as well? I think that would help with the waiting.
There is room in our schools that have screen programs to open up additional sections. They are just determining whether or not they can open additional sections, also maintain a certain standard for grade point average. We should set a standard for the grade point average that kids need to have achieved in order to qualify for the program. But we will open additional sections if we have more interest.
I'm delighted to hear that you had a meeting with all the middle school principals to talk about this based on everything that's been going on in the city. So thank you. What I'd like to encourage and request is that you have a similar meeting the next time you get all the elementary school principals together to talk about advanced curriculum and accelerated education in math in the upper elementary school grades, because the only way that the students are going to be ready for this track is if they are doing additional math at an earlier level rather than going to outside sources or coming out of one of the G&T programs. I see this very much right now. My oldest is a sixth grader at lab, and I see a very wide difference in the ability of even within a single classroom of 30 plus kids of who's coming out of one of the elementary G&Ts, someone who may be coming out of a zoned elementary school and is doing Russian School of Math or getting tutoring, and someone who is not. Students are all capable of doing the same work, but coming in at very different levels. And if we can offer this to more students in their zone schools, then more students are going to be in the pipeline. And I agree with you, Craig, that it's way more than 10 at a Baruch or a Wagner. They're just percentage wise. So I would like to request that you would do the same thing the next time you have the principals of the elementary schools together. Will you do that?
We're always talking with our principals.
I don't understand. It was working. I don't.
Stand over you really ominously. Okay, hey, I just want to know, because we keep talking about our concern about test scores. Maybe this is more rhetorical, but if we're going to spend all our energy on shoehorning kids into geometry or whatever we're going to be doing, how is getting the highest performing kids already testing well, spending energy on them? Are we ensured that the energy is also in the finances and the resources, all those things can be ensured to support all students and bring all students up and not just those kids? So maybe it's a question, maybe it's just a concern, but I think that if, I hear a lot about test scores from everybody at this table. Maybe not Lila, she's cool. But people talk about test scores, and this is not going to impact our precious test scores. So I just want to put that out there, that maybe a rising tide lifts all boats. Thanks.
Do you want to comment or no?
You didn't ask a question, but
Just a follow-up question to something you said. Boy, this is really loud. You had said that had you found evidence of bias in a suspension, you would perform an investigation, correct? How many investigations have you performed based on that?
I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment on that.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Any other questions for the superintendent? Okay. Thank you. This time you can sit and you really can, yeah. Yeah, you give it me. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving along. The approval of the minutes. We have a number of minutes that have stand unapproved. I'm going to pull up the date. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the actual ones. Can we do all outstanding minutes, or do people want to do batches?
But the April and May.
Okay, so we will do the first batch on January, February, and March. If you'll notice on the website, the minutes, all documentation was there. It's included in the minutes at the back now. If somebody wants to say that I made up emails, they can say that. Okay. But anyway, that's there. So we'll take a motion. I'll make a motion. Len, want to make a motion to approve the January, February, March?
Motion to approve January, February, and March minutes as printed in our packets.
Second by Preet Bopperai. Take it to a vote. Preet Bopperai. Preet Bopperai, yes. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen, yes. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov, yes. Gavin Healy.
No.
Gavin Healy, no. Charles Love is out. Maud Marin is out. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel is no. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage is no. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is no. Leonard Silverman.
Yes.
Leonard Silverman is yes. I'm a yes. Craig Slutskin. Lila Jason. You can, but you can abstain and it doesn't, it's up to you. You can abstain. That's totally fine. Abstention. And Alexandra is not here. The motion does not pass. 5-4. Yeah, we'll fix it, but I know what it is. Okay. Then we'll take can we have a motion for the April and May minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the April and May minutes as included in our packet.
Do I have a second? Bree, do you want a second? Preet Bopperai seconds. Take it to a vote. Preet Bopperai. Preet Bopperai is yes. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is yes. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov is a yes. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Charles Love is out. Maud is out. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel is a yes. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage is a yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is a yes. Sabina Serenise is out. Leonard Silverman. Leonard Silverman's a yes. And Craig Slutskin is a yes. The motion passes 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 to 0, 9 to 0. Oh, Lila Jason. She's a yes. Okay, good. Good vote. Okay. Are there any report of committees? Okay. Well, we're going to move to discussion. Before we go to discussion of resolutions, if anybody wants to sign in for the second speaker session, please do so. If you're not sure if you signed the right sheet, please see that guy there, Victor. You can raise your hand, but you got to. It's not a question. It's not a question and answer time. She is present, but yes, but there are no questions right now. You can speak in a public session if you'd like. So, discussion of resolutions. Resolution 275. Resolution to affirm CEC2 support of NYCPS's guidelines to support transgender and gender expansive students and rescind Resolution 248. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think you have the one more microphone. No,
Yeah. I was just looking to see, I didn't see anybody's hand.
Okay, and it's maybe appropriate that I'm standing over these two gentlemen here because I guess I'm speaking to the audience, but I'm really speaking to these two gentlemen in front of me. And this, I want to say, Len and Craig, this is your chance. This is your chance to end this. To end this term on a positive note, to end this term on a note that we are looking forward to the future, to a better future, to a more inclusive future, to a more humane, to a safer future for all of us. And I really want to personally appeal to both of you to, to deeply consider this, to vote to approve this. And eventually, we will approve this resolution. We will rescind 248. I mean, that was very clear from the results of our election. But we don't have to wait for the new term to start next month. We can implement the will of the people, the will of the community right now. And so that's what I'm asking you to do. Thank you. Sonal, just bring it over. You might have to stand up.
So I just want to point out, we had earlier a student speak on behalf of the resolution relating to PS 33. And, there was, as should have been, she was very eloquent, and we should listen to the voices of children. We have had over the past year, multiple students of all ages come and speak out against Resolution 248. And the warmth and the coddles and the looks and the congratulations and the shout outs that a student received for a resolution that was supported should be the same exact reaction, the same exact listening, the same exact feeling of every student that came into our meetings for the last 16 months and spoke to you about Resolution 248. The hypocrisy, I want to say it's implicit bias, but the bias is so explicit that it is worth mentioning. It is shameful. And then to ask a question, as you did about suspensions, have you seen a suspension where there's bias? Plenty, Len, plenty. And if you care to show up, if you came to the committee meeting, if you care to learn, then the answer is a clear yes. But back to this resolution, if for no other reason, if you're swayed by children, the voices of children, the ones that we are here to represent, then let those voices sway you tonight.
Any other comments? Okay, Resolution 276. Resolution affirming the values of the District 2 CEC and New York City Public Schools to ensure all school students are welcome and safe regardless of immigration status. Does anybody wish to speak about that?
Yeah, so obviously I think it's so important that we kind of keep reaffirming this, especially with this current administration. We see horrible things happening in the news every day. We see families being taken apart. But I'm sure some people are going to say, oh, this council is about education, and this seriously is a matter of education. It's an issue if students are scared to come to school because they're worried that they're going to be taken. They're worried that on their way to school or on their immigration hearing. So I think it's so important that all students feel welcome, feel safe. Because this district is so diverse, and I think that's what makes it so special. And so I think, just confirming, continuing to affirm these values, just making sure all students, no matter their immigration status, feel safe to go to school and to learn. Because if students don't feel safe, they're not going to go to school, they're not going to learn. And every kid deserves an education. So I think that's so important. Yeah.
And so, I think, there are some concerns perhaps in our council about what this resolution means. And so this resolution essentially is just asking for protection for these students, and it's for us to reaffirm that. Students get caught up in the sort of the immigration dragnet. The students are, and whatever you think about the legality or illegality of immigration, is kind of immaterial. These students just followed their family. They came to a place, they came to a school. And I want to add, these students were doing nothing wrong. These students were apprehended when they went to a hearing. They went to a court. They fulfilled their responsibilities as part of the immigration process, and they were entrapped. They were caught in that process. And it's really, really harmful for them. We talk about the impact of attendance. These students are not attending school. If you are suspended, and it's, of course, if you're a suspended, you're not in your classroom with your teacher, but you're in an alternate site, you are getting some, worksheets or something. But these kids in an ICE detention center, 11th grader in Texas, sometimes are cuffed, hands and feet, and they are not educated. And our job is to ensure that our students get their full education. And so I think this resolution is really about that. And I think if we go back and look in our own, family histories, we look back, we talk about, many people will say, well, we came the legal way, we came the proper way. But, most of us don't really know. A lot of us don't know. And I think that illegality of that is completely immaterial to this. What's important thing is that we are protecting these students' rights to continue to go to school. And these two students in particular need to be released now. One of them is named Dylan. He's a student at Ellis Prep in the Bronx, a transfer high school for newcomers. The other is a student in Queens, in Ridgewood, Queens. He needs to be released now, an 11th grader, you know? So I think that whatever we can do as a council to send that message to our mayor, to our chancellor, to all of our elected officials that we support those students and we want those students back in their schools and in their families is really important. Thank you.
So as Gavin knows, I had reached out to Gavin, or Gavin had reached out to me on this one. Again, I have no problem with items 1, 2, and 3. My only issue is with the last item, because I think it's a little too broad, not provide assistance to ICE in the enforcement. I think that's already the policy of the DOE. The DOE sets that policy. I just am not comfortable with the language in item 4, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
What would be fine with the rest?
it's number 4. I think what Len is saying is that not provide assistance to ICE in the enforcement of federal civil immigration law. I think is that what it is?
I mean,
This is our current policy.
Until they have a warrant, they can't come on top.
and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I'm just not comfortable with that specific language in terms of not assisting a federal agency. And I get it if there's not coming onto school premises. I get that. I'm not advocating letting anyone into a building without a school premises. There's been no examples of people coming into a school building. So you can, make whatever argument you want, but.
People that come into a school building before you're going to open this resolution,
I'm-
you're going to wait for an ICE agent to
Yeah.
see the kid in a school
Yeah,
building.
again, I'm just not comfortable with this language.
Do you want to offer an amendment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the rest of it. I'm okay with. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm also not uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I'm also not uncomfortable suggesting we don't cooperate with federal authorities. You might be. You can disagree with a lot of things, but I'm not here to engage you. I'm here just to reach out to the other people.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Nice. No, let Sono speak. Please let Sono speak. Please let Sono speak.
Maybe it's better here. All right, just so I'm clear, so we have a whereas therefore be resolved that the DOE not provide assistance to ICE in the enforcement of federal immigration law and not permit ICE to access facilities or personnel except in the rare instances in which NYCPS is provided with the criminal warrant. That is the same exact policy that currently exists that Superintendent McGuire clearly displayed. It is the policy of the NYC DOE. Are you saying you will not vote for this resolution because you are uncomfortable with the policy of the DOE to not permit ICE into buildings without a warrant?
To vote for this resolution with that language in there.
So the answer is yes. Okay. So it sounds like you are okay with ICE coming into school buildings without a warrant. I'm just trying to understand the rationale. I'm not asking anyone to explain themselves. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, Sarah, please, Clara. No, we're not going to have screaming, and we're not going to have screaming. Okay. Okay, let's everyone take a time out. Let's everyone take a deep breath. Okay. Okay, let's everyone take a deep breath. Okay, we have 37 minutes left. We're not going to get through any of this if we don't let's get through it. Okay. So let me ask, Len, would you be comfortable if we take out not the whole 4, but just not provide assistance to ICE in the enforcement of federal immigration law? So leave the permit ICE access to the facilities. So it's not all of number 4. Okay, so it's not all of number 4. It's just for the first part, not provide assistance to ICE in the enforcement of federal civil immigration law. No, he want that. Hold on. Resolution 277. Resolution in does anybody else have any comments on this line? Okay. Resolution 277. No. Jessica? Okay.
I'm just going to be brief because at this point, I feel like people are making up their opinions already. The executive order is attempting to chill efforts to prevent discrimination in our schools. It is not trying to keep dangerous children in schools. It is not trying to, yeah. We create positive school climates by ensuring that all children feel safe and welcome in schools. We do not need to punish children. That is not actually part of this discussion, but common sense discipline is code for finding other ways to discriminate against certain children in our schools and preventing them from getting educated. The point of us sitting up here is to help our children get educated. That's all.
277, sorry.
277.
Oh, I thought we were still on 276. I asked if there's any comments on 277. Sorry, you're on 277. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
No, that's fine. Okay,
I moved on myself.
Okay, sorry. Okay. I was very confused. Okay. Any other comments on 277? Okay. Any comments on 277? Okay. Any comments on resolution 278? Resolution urging NYCPS, NYSCD, and the New York State Legislature to expand financial literacy education instruction for middle school students.
I want to explain why I'm going to vote no on this one. I don't think that the state legislation should be passing laws about mandating specific subjects for all schools. I think schools should have the freedom to tailor their curriculum to the students that they have. That's why we keep advocating for advanced math, because we know there are some students who are ready for that. When we have such high levels of math illiteracy and of kids who cannot even read at grade level, I don't think it's the more prudent choice to mandate financial literacy across the board for every single middle school student. So I'm very for financial literacy education, but I am not sure that the right answer is for people in Albany to be mandating, like specifically, it's almost an elective curriculum choices for all middle school students across the city. So that's why I'm going to vote no on this one.
Anybody else? So I will just say I was recently talking to a high school student who had no idea how to deal with credit card debt, had no idea what a checking account was, and I think that's setting them up for disaster. We have a student loan crisis. we need people to understand, we need kids to understand what this is. We're not asking for an intensive, an 11-year-old to take an intensive economics class. We're asking for some basic financial literacy, which I personally think is very important and I think is a great foundation. 279, resolution regarding PS 33 and the proposed development of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses. Does anybody have any comments?
I didn't. It's okay. So I just want to say the reason we have a student loan crisis in this country is not because our students lack financial literacy. And, the reason why New York City residents have such high credit card debt might be because New York City is really, really expensive. So, I mean, I think that, I've often found in my life that the people who have the least amount of money are often the most financially savvy because they're the people who really know how to stretch a dollar to its absolute breaking point because they have to in order to survive. So I feel like the resolution kind of makes this argument that well, people are poor because they lack financial literacy. Well, maybe that's kind of a strange bias, but it's maybe the bias of the, wealthy folks in the council. Thank you.
Comment. I'm not even a comment. You don't know how I grew up. So any other comments on 279? Okay. Father worked 7 days a week, on his feet all day for 40 years. Okay. We have the second public speaker session. It's already 9:30. How many people do we have? Because we do have other things, and we do have some business in the working business meeting because it's the end of the year. I'm sorry? Okay, so we have 17 people and less than 30 minutes left, and we have to be out of here at 10, which means the meeting has to be over so we can clean up at least, 5 or 10 minutes before. So can we say 30 seconds each? We just don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. Okay. 17. Okay, so we'll do 30 seconds each. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Can't have you speak. Got it. What? Okay. Not, I don't know. Ma'am, I understand what you're saying, and I actually do emphasize. This is okay, ma'am, I highly suggest you speak at community boards 2 or community board 4, because they are the ones who are going to talk about land use. We do not have that purview. Thank you. Please, could you? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So, okay, so we're going to line it up. I'm going to call 4 people if they can line up. Annabelle Ruggiero, Joe Vitale, I think Joe's still here, Shannon, and Rachel. 30 seconds each.
So I just learned tonight that Craig, you're gay. Yes, I'm late to the party, everybody. You know that poem, First They Came for the Socialists? You wanna know what was left off that? First we came for the trans people, and then first they came for the gay people. You dumb motherfucker. After they're done with us, they're coming for you next.
Well, we see where their argument is with all their cursing. Is this mic on? Is this mic on? Okay, so I spoke previously. I support 248 and I oppose 275. I oppose 276 and I oppose 277. My sign says CIS equals can't imitate sex. And Gavin, I'm glad you said law is law, because currently there's an executive order that says biological males should not be competing in girls' school sports, and that has the impact of federal law. And 248 cannot be rescinded because it's already gone through its life cycle. Gavin, you're like a rapist who can't understand the word no. How many times have you brought this up and people are saying no? I was interrupted by this nonsense. So I just want to end with one final comment since I was interrupted by this nonsense. And that is talking to Superintendent McGuire is like trying to nail Jello to the wall.
No. Please give it to me, the microphone. Okay. We are not going to start dancing and on top of people when we're doing it. That's not appropriate. We will stop this public session. Can you reach it?
I'll make this quick. I'll only have one question for y'all to think about. In 10, 20, 25 years, when your kids know that you voted for ICE and against trans people, are they going to be proud of you? Think about it. Hi, thank you. I'm going to speak quickly and speak on some of the themes that we've heard here tonight about a safe, productive learning environment that impacts all students and provides dignity to all humans. What I'm going to speak about is really a microcosm of what so many are saying. But hey, I've been here for 3.5 hours, so I'm just going to roll with it. I'm Rachel. I'm a mom and a PTA president at the River School, PS 281. We're all the way down on 35th Street and First Avenue. So if you're ever on the east side, come say hi. We're a beautiful school and a wonderful community. Right now, our community is in crisis, and it is time for us to address it head on. Our dedicated teachers recently cast a resounding 93% vote of no confidence in the current leadership. This is not just a statistic, it's a desperate plea from the heart of our school community. Imagine the courage it takes for our educators to speak out so overwhelmingly. They've done so because they're witnessing firsthand. My time is up. Okay. It's 3.5 hours later. Supporting our school means advocating for changing leadership in our children. Our children's future depends on it. Thank you.
Yeah, 30 seconds also.
Okay, if you vote for a resolution 279, you're approving a demolition that the tenants are against. We don't want this demolition. It will be a demolition against our will. It's not a done deal. Do not vote on a resolution. We can push this whole proposal away. Please contact the elected officials. Do not believe the false script that they're telling people. Let's not cave into the greedy private developers. Help us protect the kids of this community. Say no to mass demolition in Chelsea.
Okay, so hello, my name is actually Renee Kitt. I'm actually the Resident Association President of the Elliott Chelsea Houses. So we were told that you were going to vote on a resolution, but at the same time, if you don't have information and you keep saying you don't have information, how do you vote on something? Understand this. Related, it's the same people who wanted to do a casino in Hudson Yards. It was no longer financially feasible. What happens? They decide to try and do that. So what are we doing? You will not get to school. You will not come back. Let's be quite real. The proposed demolition, they want the block. It is the easiest. We are the people they want to try to get out. We do not want a demolition. I was elected on an anti-demolition platform. I was specifically said, we do not want it. If you do this, you are basically telling them you're going to help them take the block and help them demolish us, help them erase us from a community, and signaling urban renewal is fine. So if you don't have information, you should not be voting. You need to be an informed electorate.
And then after that, it'll be Mark and as a niece, Sawyer.
Am I allowed to dance myself with my own flag? I'm not dancing for anybody else's flag, just my own. I am here again to say protect trans kids, protect trans kids. Keep ICE out of our schools. And thank you everyone for being here. Have a great summer.
Mark.
Hey, so I started this meeting with more positivity, but I've seen some I've seen some crazy shit from these guys. We're advocating for ICE in schools, really? We're uncomfortable by the idea of voting on it? Are you kidding me? Who gives a shit if you're uncomfortable? You don't get to be uncomfortable when there's actually kids who have the right to be uncomfortable, who like they should actually be uncomfortable, not you. You're uncomfortable because you don't want to say that you're pro-ICE. Anyway, protect trans kids. Happy Pride Month. Hi, Allison. I see you're back.
Want to express my vehement support for 276. It is completely reasonable to ask ICE to follow the letter of the law. They are required to give you a permit, not a permit, a warrant signed by a judge to enter interior spaces of schools. That's reasonable. And I want to address your incredibly transparent line of questioning earlier. Maybe class size increases because of migrant children, and maybe they are decreasing because a lot of them have been taken away. If that smaller class size is more important to you than a child's safety, home, or life, I cannot imagine what harm you are doing elsewhere. I'm very glad you're leaving this board. Please vote for this reasonable resolution. Thank you.
And go. Okay. I timed it, so it's less than 30 seconds. 30 seconds is not enough for any of the things, and some of it is a data thing, and I think the Super Nintendo's gone anyway, but we talk a lot about race and disability when you talk about discipline. A lot of that also really intersects with queer and transness, and I know some of that we don't have the data on, but particularly gender nonconforming, femme presenting, and students of color are way more disproportionately disciplined and all that. So we need some of that data, but again, I hate to keep saying it, every issue is a trans issue, because when we talk about disability, it overlaps. When we talk about race, it overlaps. A lot of things around suspensions and whatnot. Fuck the demo. I mean, yeah, no demolition. The only shade that needs to, like, that the kids here need is, you know, the stuff that the council needs, and and the only ice they need is for when it gets hot out. Okay, bye.
Maybe you all forgot that none of us got to pick where we're born, and maybe you forgot or you don't know how uncomfortable it might be to upend your life and come to a new country and have spent your money coming here for a better life, and you're uncomfortable with picking a side with not wanting children to get deported. That makes you uncomfortable. And everyone here has been uncomfortable at some point in their life, and they've gone ahead and they've done the thing, and their life is probably better for it. And you cannot vote in support of a very simple thing that is already what is happening.
Thank you.
I'm Ana Rojas. I have been attending these meetings virtually since my grandson started school in D2. I had a lot of things written down because over all these years that I have been participating, I have not seen most of you. The majority of this council is not doing their job, which is taking care of every kid, every child. Please, please, you've heard these kids come. They have so much courage. Have the courage. Len, please have the courage. Craig, please have the courage to stand up for our kids, to stand up for kids that are immigrants. This council before you guys actually told my daughter that they didn't care where she came from. Please care, please care. And not about charters, not about choice, but about each and every child.
Thank you. Shout out to Mama Dukes, because that's where this all comes from, the roots. Shout out to this side of the council who has been doing their part. Y'all really got to get this out of you better. I'm going to talk to you, Len, because yes, when I was on this council and during Hispanic Heritage Month, trying to voice the fact that I was from Venezuela, while many of these students were coming in, I was told by someone here that they didn't care where I came from. A blatant, explicit, racist comment while you were parliamentarian and you did nothing. So it doesn't surprise me that you don't know racism or bias, whether implicit or explicit, when it's literally slaps you in the face. So no ICE in our schools, because that is literally what our chancellor has been invoking since that federal order was put out. And if you paid attention to anything that the school does, you would know that that is not okay. You need to literally be up here advocating for every one of our students. The Chelsea community was not engaged when this resolution was formed. And it's just a clear indication of where you guys are not going, which is not really engaging in the community that you're supposed to represent. I hope those of you coming back
Thank you. I will keep this very quick. Rescind 248 for the love of God, please. I work in schools. I'm an educator. I'm an educator here in District 2. Where do I have to stand if it's not fucked up? I'm going to use my voice. So I'm an educator in District 2. You've all been having a conversation about child safety and about punitive actions and all of these weird things. And what I don't hear you talking about is how do we pay our teachers more? How do we get more teachers in classrooms? How do we get more guidance counselors in our schools? How do we get more social workers in our schools? How do we get more staff members for the kids that don't react well to the systemic way that we make them learn? Those are the answers. And please, next term, let's talk about some of that. Thank you all.
It is wild. It is wild for you to say that it is inappropriate for people to dance, that you are uncomfortable with part of this resolution, but you are comfortable with ICE coming in and taking students away and putting them in deportation centers in Texas. You are uncomfortable with people dancing, but you're comfortable with that. These students, no matter where they come from, whether they are migrant students or not, are your constituents. You should care that they are being kidnapped. And if you're uncomfortable, this is not, you're not being asked to break the law, Len. ICE is not allowed to come and take someone without a judicial warrant. I don't understand what the problem is, what you are uncomfortable with. It is wild.
Okay, the vote on resolutions. You ready? Okay. Resolution 275 to affirm CEC2 support of NYCPS's guidelines to support transgender and gender expansive students and rescind resolution 248. Can I get make a motion to accept that resolution? I'll make the motion. Gavin will second it. Fine. Free Boparai. Free Boparai abstain. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen, no. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov, no. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy, yes. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel, yes. Jessica Savage, yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Yes. Len Silverman, no. Craig Slutskin, abstain. Motion does not pass. That is, yeah, it's fine. 4-5, sorry. 4-1, I think. 4-2. Okay, next resolution, hold on. Use this one. This is better, actually. This is actually a better one. Resolution 276, resolution affirming the values of the District 2 CEC and New York City Public Schools to ensure all students are welcome and safe regarding of immigration status. I will make a motion to accept the resolution. Gavin can second. Motion to approve, sorry, fine. What do you care? Free Boparai. Yes. Allison Bowen, no. Daniela Egorov, no. Gavin Healy. Yes. Charles Love is out. Maud Marin is out. Sonal Patel is yes. Jessica Savage. Assuming that's a yes, I can't hear. Jessica Savage is a yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is a yes. Sabina's out. Len Silverman abstain. Craig Slutskin is a yes. Craig Slutskin is a yes. Motion does not pass. 6-2. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Sorry. Hold on. Hold on a second. Sorry. I apologize. It's just so much going on. Sorry. Let's go back to 275. Lila Jason. Lila Jason is a yes. Okay. 276. Lila Jason is a yes. And I apologize. There's just so much going through. It's not about disrespecting you. Resolution 277. Resolution in opposition to Donald Trump's executive order entitled Reinstating Common Sense School Discipline Policies. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Gavin Healy can be a second. Preet Bopperai. Preet Bopperai is a no. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov is a no. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Charles Love is out. Maud Marin is out. Sonal Patel. 277. Oh. You can change your vote until the vote is closed. So Allison Bowen, we are on 277. Allison Bowen is a no, not a yes. Okay. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel is a yes. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage is a yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is a yes. Leonard Silverman. Leonard Silverman is a no. Craig Slutskin is a no. Motion does not pass. 4-5. Oh, Lila Jason. Lila Jason's a yes. And Alexandra's not here. So it's 4-5. Are we missing one? Yes, in the middle of a vote, yes, you can, yes. Resolution 278, resolution urging NYCPS, NYSED, and New York State Legislature expand financial literacy education instruction for middle school students. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Daniela Egorov will second. That's Robert's rules. Preet Bopperai. Preet Bopperai is a yes. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov is a no. Gavin Healy. Abstain. Gavin Healy abstains. Sonal Patel. Abstains. Sonal Patel abstains. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage abstains. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg abstains. Leonard Silverman. Leonard Silverman is a yes. Craig Slutskin is a yes. Lila Jason. Lila Jason is a yes. Motion does not pass. 4-1-4. Resolution 279, resolution regarding PS 33 and the proposed redevelopment of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Danielle Egorov seconds. Preet Bopperai. Yes. Preet Bopperai is yes. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen's a yes. Danielle Egorov. Danielle Egorov is a yes. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is an abstain. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel abstains. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage abstains. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg abstains. Leonard Silverman. Leonard Silverman is a yes. Craig Slutskin is a yes. Lila Jason. Lila Jason is a yes. Motion does not pass. 5-0-4. Is there any new business? Okay. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. We're now going to go to the working business meeting. Can we take attendance for the business meeting? Okay, I'm going to call this working business meeting to order. It's 9:56. We're going to do this very quickly. Preet Bopperai. Preet Bopperai is here. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is here. Daniela Egorov. Daniela Egorov is here. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is here. Maud Marin is not here. Charles Love is not here. Sonal Patel. Sonal Patel is here. Sonal, say here. Okay, thank you. Jessica Savage. Jessica Savage is here. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is here. Leonard Silverman. Leonard Silverman is here. Craig Slutskin is here. Lila Jason. Lila Jason is here. Alexandra Stillman is not here. We have a quorum. Treasury report, I think the only thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, please, everybody, get your expenses in this week because they need time to process. So please get any reimbursements in by Friday. So this way, the Victor has time to enter it in, and the SCO can make sure it's done okay. I'm assuming no school liaison updates. Superintendent's evaluation, I sent everybody an email for the superintendent evaluation. Please get it in by Friday. This way I'll have time to process everything and get it in. New business, any new business? And with that, we are adjourned.
I'll take a rest.